Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I am Ben Hansen. I'm joined as always by permanent co-host Timothy Turry on the end.
Hello, Ben. How's it going today?
It's going all right. How are you doing?
Let's record a podcast.
Oh man, it's going to be a hell of a show because we have the one, the only Benjamin Reeves.
The cute Ben.
That's right. And Mr. Brian Shea.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
What's going on with you, Brian Shea?
Not a whole lot. It's been a while.
Has it?
Yeah,
When was the last episode you're on? Like Splatoon?
A few months ago, yeah. I guess May.
Okay. Wow. It can't be.
It's been a while.
Have you checked out Splatoon's update?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think?
It's pretty robust. Like, you got a couple new modes. You got, what else do you have? You have new music, which is
matchmaking,
cool.
but...
Yeah, matchmaking's a...
How is the new
It
music?
didn't have matchmaking before?
No, it didn't.
That was
Well,
one-
it had matchmaking, but you couldn't go in with, like, friends. Like,
Right.
You couldn't
Yeah.
form your team and then, like, have
that's
like
right.
like, yeah.
How is the new music?
It's pretty good. I didn't like it as much as the original music at first, but now it's like really, really growing on me now that I'm hearing it over and over again.
Yeah, I'm still in that camp where it feels too new for me.
Are there any of like the really good tracks that got stuck in your head that are gone now? Like,
I don't think so.
No, I don't think they
kinda
removed
keep it in
anything.
rotation.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they just keep layering more and more on.
It's cool they keep adding things to this game. It's
New
all
modes.
Yeah.
free so far, which is nice.
That makes me think like, what if Nintendo, like, let's assume all this stuff was just ready right out of the gate and they had released the game with all this stuff in it. What how do you think it would have been received?
I think the reviews would have been a little bit higher, and then people would have forgotten about it. But this constant trickle of like, God, I should really go back to Splatoon. They also raised the level cap to like 100? 50? It's
was
50, that's
20
right. It went from
before.
20 to 50. Yeah, but
that should have been in the original game, I think.
Yeah, well,
'Cause
the
people
guy-
leveled up way too.
Well, if there was
quick,
nothing for them to get.
Didn't one of the directors or something say like if people who already reached level cap like 2 months after release, he like sincerely was worried about their social lives because they must be playing it constantly. Like I think that was a
Oh, wow.
and
paraphrased
he
quote.
called them at home just to see how it all would
I mean,
go.
that falls in line with the Nintendo, like, hey, take a break every 3
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
Right.
and make sure that you don't have any lamps in your house or live with any other human beings if you're going to play anything ever.
Yeah, the boot up screen, Kala and Mari, it's just the equivalent of like the ending of Lost World on PS1 where Jeff Goldblum tells you to call up a member of the opposite sex, get out there, brush the smell off you, he says.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, going for those easy references like the
Yeah,
end of
of
Lost
course.
World on PlayStation
It's one of my
1.
favorite game endings.
Commonly quoted.
But that's it. We have our Splatoon update. So, Brian, the door's over there if you just
All
want to
right,
see
well,
yourself
thanks
out.
for having me on.
Well, hell no, Brian. Hell no. We got a hell of a show today. We're covering Volume,
Yes,
which
we are.
is probably the biggest release of the week, arguably. So we're going to talk all about that. I have a feeling that you liked it a lot. We're also going to have a scatter shot of other games we've been playing before getting to reader emails. And then for our final segment, we're going to do Back of the Box Trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done this yet, Brian?
I haven't.
Okay. Fantastic, man.
Ooh,
We're
some
really
new
gonna break
blood. I
you
got a
in.
feeling that, Brian, you could be like sleeper really good at it. Like surprisingly good at it.
really good.
We
in
will
your sleep.
find out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we should talk to you about this Volume game that came out
Yes.
on
Turn it up.
Tuesday.
It is the newest game from Mike Bithell, who
You say newest game.
as
Is it
in the second game from
Okay.
Mike Bithell, who
Legendary developer,
Yeah.
Mike
He
Bizzle.
came to prominence through Thomas Was Alone, which is a nice little minimalist platformer type game.
Yeah.
That was a fun game, but I never finished it.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't
it was,
either.
Me neither.
Um,
not so compelling. I wanted to finish it, but it was super adorable.
It's that one game you always hear about and keep telling yourself, like, oh, yeah, I should check that out at some point. People mention it once every 6
I
months.
played it for several hours.
Did you
I think
really?
I think
Yeah.
it's only like 4 to 5 hours long.
And
right?
it's an awesome Vita game, which is what I played it on. But the narrative, like very charming, like English accents
yeah,
and
that's what sells it.
yeah, it just narrating like these different personalities of these blocks that are needed. They need to cooperate to like platform through levels, and it's very abstract, but it was really cool. And Volume's totally different, right?
Yeah, well, this time it is a stealth game, like pure stealth. You can't attack the enemies. You just kind of, it puts you in one point of the level. It's top-down-ish view, like kind of isometric, like Metal Gear old games.
But it looks like
fixed-
Metal Gear
Yeah,
like
like-
VR missions.
Yeah, it really is.
I talked to Mike Bithell at GDC, and he said that VR missions was like a direct inspiration for
I
him.
love the idea of that
It's
weird
obvious.
offshoot so long ago can inspire a game in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he said that I was reading up on the game, and he also said that there's I always do that.
That's okay.
There's,
We moved the mic closer to Brian's face.
Yes.
That's what happened.
level creation tools are also in there, so you can create your own levels. And he said that that was another area that Kojima inspired him because I guess before the old Metal Gear games, Kojima would build them in Legos, like the levels.
Yeah, that's right.
And he said that the level tools, he wanted to make it so that they were that easy. Like it was as if you were building them in Legos. And it is pretty simple to build your own levels. Like I built a Pac-Man replica level where it's like because the whole point of the game is you start in one point and then there's an exit point, and then you're supposed to collect all the gems, and the gems, like once you collect all the gems in the level, it unlocks that exit point. But like throughout the level, there are guards, there are turrets, there are dogs and things that are trying to like take you out.
How puzzly does the stealth feel at a certain point?
There are definite levels where I'm like, okay, this is a total puzzle level. And there's other levels where it's like you just kind of have to like wait for the right time.
Timing and puzzles, it seems like, is a big thing, because you're never like gunning anyone down, right? Like
no, there are some gadgets that you can use. Like there's like noise makers where you can like throw like a thing over across the other side of the level and it attracts the enemies over there.
Yeah, one thing I remember, speaking of those gadgets, was kind of, almost like a geometry, like billiards, line up your shot and your laser for where you're going to like throw this noise. Like, what would you call that? Like a sound bomb type thing?
It's called a bugle in the game.
Just call it a bugle.
Something to the pizza flavored ones or ranch. But you can see like where it's going to bounce and ricochet around, so you can try to like make it go exactly where you want, like a well-placed pool shot or something.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Like a beagle.
There is one like kind of offensive gadget. It's called the blackjack, and you can just target an enemy and you throw it at him, and it just stuns him for like 5 seconds.
Okay, so I hope that when you get caught, it just automatically resets you.
It doesn't. They like the music, like it's super dramatic, and you can run, and like the enemies will run after you.
But can you hide?
You can hide.
Okay.
And so your whole objective is before they fire their gun at you to break the line of sight. But like they'll go to the last known place that they. So like if you duck behind a wall right here, they're going to like go right to that point where they last know of your location.
And they have vision cones out, right? So it's like if you took the vision cones from the Metal Gear like mini map, like radar, and put them onto the characters.
Kind of like that Dishonored ability where you can unlock that, where you can kind of see what they're seeing.
Am I
see
right?
Their cone.
Yeah. The cones are always visible, and that's also useful when you're trying to break the line of sight, when you're trying to escape, like after you've been spotted. Because if you don't get out of the way, and they also have different abilities. Like some guards are just like, they stay stationary, they look straight ahead, and there's the vision cone. Other ones, like they'll patrol back and forth, and then there's these, they're called rogues. And rather than having the vision cones, they actually have a 360 view at all times. They have like a special like piece of equipment on their head that lets them see.
So you completely avoid them, or have to?
You just have to go around them, like outside their vision. Like their viewpoint, their sight lines only go about like 7 or 8 feet in front of them. So like as long as you go like around them the long way, or like
I feel like you could build better droids than that. Something that sees further than 7 feet.
Well, there are archers,
technology
they're called,
exists.
where like they can see across the entire level, but it's a very narrow sight line. And if like you walk in front of them, it takes them a long time to fire because I guess they have like a sniper rifle.
This game feels to me, to the stealth genre, what N++ is to platforming. Is that a fair analogy? Where it's just kind of...
It's a distillation of the essence of stealth. And how many levels are there? There's
It's like about 100.
Right. So it's just like... I mean, because VR missions in Metal Gear there were a lot of them, but there was a crazy amount of variety where it seems like...
I've never played VR missions. It's one I've always wanted to get to. But I remember there's one with like a giant guard
genome soldier.
Around. Yeah.
The fun thing about VR missions too is like they weren't all stealth missions. Some of them were based on like how you use the weapons. And some
really?
were like
They were
still puzzling,
like shooting
sometimes.
galleries.
Yeah, sometimes a shooting gallery.
Did they have like Nikita challenges?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that
and it'd be
sounds
like,
great.
how
It was
good
a
are
good mix.
how clever can you get with mines? You know what I mean? Or throwing grenades and stuff like that. Whereas I don't know, are there challenge rooms, or is it just all a sequential campaign?
It's just one like linear story.
Okay.
So you say story.
Yeah, there is a story. They actually have Andy Serkis voicing the main bad guy.
Oh, that's right.
And he does
and they have
an
the
amazing
same guy.
job.
Same guy who did Thomas is Alone came back, right?
I
think I heard that.
think so.
You can quote me on it.
Okay.
No, that's crazy. I remember hearing Bithell talking about it and how he just reached out to Circus, and Circus just like, yeah, I love video games, sure, no problem. Like he's just saying that it was remarkably
Seems
easy
like
to
the
get that
easiest
guy.
thing, yeah.
Well, they sent him like an early copy of the script, I guess, and he was like, "Yeah, I love the script and I like video games, so why not?"
Yeah, that's the other thing I want to say. Like, coming off the tail end of Thomas Was Alone, which had some very simple gameplay on it, but it seemed like it was the narrative and the story, like context around it, that was what really drove it home for people. Mm-hmm. To me, volume, it seems like gameplay is more the main star, but like that's just my gut instinct. How did the story motivate you? Did you feel like there's memorable characters, or how'd that stack up for you?
Yeah, there are very few like main characters. There's Rob, who's the character you control.
Is he a robot?
Rob Loxley is his name.
Okay.
And then there's Alan, who is like this like the AI who's kind of guiding you through the missions.
Okay.
And then there's Guy Gisborne is the
Good name.
it's the main bad guy, and he's the one who Andy Serkis.
Guy Gisborne.
It's a great name.
Sounds like a Muppet.
Gisborne.
And
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
basically,
So what's the story then?
Guy Gisborne has amassed like way too much power for his own good.
Well, of course.
Typical
kinda-
A
Gisborne.
guy like that.
and he's gone pretty corrupt. And Loxley is like, all right, well, I guess he was kind of born into like this privileged setting as well.
Okay.
And he's like, but I'm gonna try to like turn the tides and make it so it's like a better world for everyone.
It's just sci-fi Robin Hood, right?
Yeah,
Is that
pretty
what we're dealing
much,
with
yeah.
here?
Okay. And it all takes place within the context of that sort of stylized VR world.
Yes, all the
right?
levels do. There are some cutscenes that take place outside of that.
Okay.
And yeah, but the voice acting is fantastic.
All
The
right.
dialogue's really well written. Really well acted. Charming characters.
Well,
and
it's weird to me to think about like how important an environment is in a world like this. Then, like if you have some interesting stealth gameplay, you theoretically have some story elements that are stringing you along. But the world is all just polygons, right?
well, yeah, within the gameplay itself, but like
Right.
outside of it, there are like people that look like real people too.
Okay. But I'm just wondering, like, man, if I just had that boiled down stealth type of thing, would I really enjoy it? Because like one of my favorite experiences this year is Republic. When it came out on PC, I think that version is super fun, and it kind of brought back a lot of classic Metal Gear Solid feelings with me. But
This is way gamier.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it would have the same appeal without having that kind of cohesive world.
Did you guys ever play Monaco?
I did not.
Because it sounds similar to what you're saying, but it's a 2D like top-down stealth game, and you have different kind of character classes, and they do different. You can like dig through tunnels and stuff.
Yeah.
And you avoid guards and then avoid making sounds in front of them.
Well, it is kind of cool in that sense because almost every single level you feel like you are like in a heist of some sort. Because like you're going in, there's force fields you have to hack and deactivate, and you have to like make sure you're doing it right as like the guards are going around and their vision cone's turning, and you can go around, hack the force field to get into the gems and take the gems. Then you go over to another point to escape the level. So it has that heist feel, which I know Monaco has.
I think Monaco, thinking back to the time I played it, Monaco felt a little bit more chaotic and a little and volume from the levels I played was a little bit more like refined and focused level to level. But what I want to ask, like Ben made that comparison to M++, which is like you would never recommend M++ to a casual platforming fan or someone who's not huge on platformers,
Right.
because it's so blisteringly challenging. Would you recommend Volume to someone who like didn't really like stealth games that much? Like, I like Metal Gear, but I always go in guns a-blazing. Couldn't get into Splinter Cell. Like, is this a good like entry point or reassessment of stealth games for people that aren't really into them?
I think it's pretty accessible. Like I was challenged quite often throughout the story, but I was never like to the point where I was going to like throw my controller or anything.
Do you like stealth games though?
Yeah, that's what I was
I'm not
curious.
a massive stealth fan.
Okay.
Like I like games like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. I enjoyed the stealth missions a little bit.
Games
but
where you can do something about it when you get caught.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay.
Like this, you have no recourse when you get
Right.
caught. Like you're just like you better run and find a clever way to hide, or else you're done and you're
Right.
starting over at the checkpoint.
But you like this game a lot.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.75.
It's a good score. Really good score. I can't wait to play it. What is it available on?
It is available on PC, Mac, PS4, and Vita.
Oh wow.
Actually, I think they delayed the Vita version. They
Did
just
they?
announced that on Monday.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
It seems like it'd be a perfect Vita game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it actually coming out on Mac because I'm going to be traveling and I have my MacBook, so I
There
totally
you
want to
go.
download this and check it out.
Curious how it would play with just a mouse or like a keyboard. Or
Yeah.
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 Will
think
you
it'd work
come and
okay?
watch me play it?
What was that?
Will you come watch me play it?
Yeah, I will.
Right.
Fantastic.
It's offers out there. Anybody who wants to have Brian come and watch.
Him play Solid.
And just saying, the offer's out there.
Reeves, would you like to put an offer out there as to talking about what you've been playing?
Can we turn on the
I-
volume on his?
Yeah, turn it up.
Oh, the
I will
trap door.
say- I wish I had been playing something that's like more recent. I did play a little bit more Galak-Z. I know we talked about that like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Well,
but-
let's have that entire conversation.
yeah, let's have that conversation.
Well, did you
again.
make more progress or
More
you
progress?
beat the game?
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
You're-
yeah, but I beat it on a debug copy of the game, which is different than like my home version.
Advanced copy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I wanted to because the 5th episode's going to be coming out eventually, 5th season, I should say. And so I kind of wanted to like see it and just have my like
Be ready.
retail version.
Plus,
ready to go.
your walls were like too intact. You wanted to put some fist through them at home. So
I was
you
really
thought-
looking
Yeah.
forward to like making some holes for some mirrors.
Reeves hulked out during that. During that review. So did you beat it all again?
No, I'm actually on season 5 now.
Have you found?
Sorry, season 4.
Did you
This is
find
the last season that's out.
Okay. Did you find that like your playstyle changed at all?
Hey, you know what? I actually like. We do this interesting thing when we're reviewing a game, and that we like play it through
To completion?
like,
Super
in one
unique.
sitting. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just
you have to sort of like force yourself to play it when you're not interested in it. And it was actually kind of nice and refreshing to go back and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna play a couple of levels and then be done. And so
there's no
enjoyed-
deadline.
Yeah. I enjoyed kind of like sitting back and like going through it, and it was like less frustrating that way.
So you're saying like you're putting your hands behind your head and saying, I could get used to this?
Oh yeah,
Cool. But
I'm into this.
what else have you been playing?
The other thing
then?
I've been playing is a lot of The Witcher still, which turns out that's a
all of
big
us.
game.
Good God, everyone in the office is still trying to plow through The Witcher. And someone that's like
Has anyone
4
beat it
hours in,
besides
it's
Kim?
like, I'm scared to even go on that adventure.
It's well,
don't
you
know.
You could
I don't think
mainline
so.
it through the main quest, I think.
Okay.
And not that long.
I mean, like, what,
But-
40 hours, you think, just for the main
I
quest?
think less.
Really?
Yeah, I think less.
Okay.
Turn down the difficulty and just plow through it. Like I think you could do that. But
Okay.
I really like all the side content, so I've been trying to do it all.
Yeah, it
It's
does
like-
have really good side content.
The question is like near the end of the year for like game of the year discussion when we're all debating.
Yeah.
What's going to be more valuable of a perspective? And I think we're going to have a spread of these, which is like someone who before Metal Gear, Mad Max, and Fallout 4 all came out, 3 huge open world games. If you managed to beat Witcher 3, maybe focusing on the main story halfway through and just getting that done. Or maybe you meandered around, did a ton of Witcher contracts and found the armor smith and the enchanter and all those little alchemist like side quests. You did a ton of them, but then you petered out and switched to something else. Like, what is a more valuable perspective? And it's an interesting question.
It's scary. Like right now, before the big rush of fall games, I feel like everyone's trying to map out like, oh, we're gonna have the game of the year discussions. They're looming on the horizon.
Right.
Right. Start
That's the thing.
prioritizing
That's-
and
all
which is
of
a
this.
huge contender.
That's why I want to get through the game now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I know we have a bunch of massive games coming out this year still, and I want to beat
Supermassive.
Witcher before the supermassive games come out.
So
such
give me
as
an example.
Fallout.
Give me an example of the worst side quest you've done in Witcher 3 so far, and the best. Tell me a little story about each.
You want me to like spoil it?
Is there one that isn't too much of a spoiler?
I really like one I did recently. Is I don't know. They're all kind of spoilery for that quest, But I did
Okay.
a side
All right,
quest.
so here's the warning,
yeah.
and then skip ahead if you're worried about it. But I think you could still talk around it.
I can
best of your
talk around
ability.
stuff, but there's a quest you do with Yennefer, which you're probably familiar with. She's like the sorceress chick who you're really into.
Are you back? Is it because there's Kaer Morhen? Is that the name of like the Witcher castle?
The Witcher Castle, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a place I think you go back to it. It's
Yeah,
not a
there's
huge
lots of
spoiler or
places.
anything.
We could talk about the places if you want.
Well, I mean, I was trying to see if that was where you were at with her.
Oh, yeah. So you're talking main story quest. This is actually before this. This is like a side quest you do in Skellige.
Okay. Yeah.
And you do this quest for her where you basically learn a little bit of the backstory between the two and like why they're infatuated with each other. And you kind of dive into that a little bit and kind of
Have you ever heard of love, Reeves?
yeah, you dig into their love.
Okay.
I mean,
It taught me what love is, and that's why I love this.
Geralt's clearly the person you want to turn to learn about love.
But you're
Cold
And
steel
emotions,
eyes.
yeah.
yeah. Well, actually, just a side note,
Who'da
I'm not
thunk?
that into his voice actor.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
It goes back and forth for
I
me.
think
He
there's
sounds
a
like
lot of
like
fans.
low rent Batman sometimes, and other times he's just awkward. But I sometimes I also really like him, so I don't know.
I like the analogy. I think we talked about it on the podcast, even of the David Hayter situation, where it's like it's kind of the legacy thing, and it doesn't stand up to the rest of the voice acting, but there's a certain charm to
Yeah.
how rough it can sound. I
Yeah.
guess.
I think David Hayter still holds up, though.
Yeah, you go back and play some of those, especially like Peace Walker and Portable Ops. I think is where they stood out to me the most, where he still has such a deep, gravelly voice because those are post 4, and he kind of stuck with his old Snake voice a little bit too much for my likes. But that's a whole tangent. It's
Well, he
okay.
might just be getting old.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe that's just become his voice.
He's got an old snake in his
Yeah.
throat.
Well, anyway, back to this mission that I liked was you kind of go and you're like diving into this water to try to find something for Yennefer, and there's this giant pit in there, and you're like, well, this is interesting, and you find half a ship that's kind of been carved out, and it looks like a meteor hit, and then Yennefer's like, well, that was not a meteor. It's like they teleported this giant chunk of rock in the ship And then you have to go and find out where it went. It's like on the top of this mountain.
Huh.
And you do this fight on the top of the mountain. And it's actually a pretty cool little event.
That sounds all right.
And that's like a side mission.
Right.
So it's actually what I like about it is like there's this really cool like sequence and it's a side mission. And so there's a lot of side missions like that are actually a lot of fun.
And the worst one? Have you had some that are a bit disappointing? Because everybody always raves about the Witcher side content. There's got to be some duds in there, right? Are there like quest lines people should avoid?
There hasn't been one. Well, okay, yeah. Actually, the one I would avoid is like the horse races, which are super dumb. There's not a lot of story to
They're
them.
like
There's no
trivially
twist.
easy
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like,
and they're super easy. And I did them just because I'm sick of these being in my list of missions. So like that, if that's the reason to do them, like that's they should never have created them.
my low point in that game has been all the dandelion stuff, hunting down a bard.
Yeah.
Well, that's not even side story. That's like
I know it's main
quest
stuff, but that was like a low point for me with that game. And then I came out on the other end and like have been rejuvenated by it.
Yeah, it's surprising how long that takes because I remember people talking about it before I even got to it. I'm
Yeah.
like, this can't take that long.
It's-
and then you get to it and you're like, wow, this does take a long time.
And like all that stuff is at Novigrad. It's like 80% just dialogue.
Yeah, a lot of stories. Although one thing that I did a lot, I've really liked, and I don't think people talk about enough, is the Gwent card game, which I know,
Yeah.
Tim, you're not super into, but I think it's really fun. Like it's like I really got into Hearthstone last year, and I'm not going to say it's better than Hearthstone, but it's like one of those games where if this came out as a separate package and it was just Gwent, and I could
you
just go
listening to CD
online and
Projekt
play,
Red?
I can't imagine that
I
they
would play
won't,
it.
right?
I think I would play it.
I mean, they're making board games for
Or
Christ's
at least
sake.
like an
and MOBAs.
an
like,
iOS spin-off thing, like make it Gwent.
Absolutely.
Like it would do gangbusters.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised they didn't do that, like as a little iOS game that you could play, and
maybe
then
they-
they could tie that back into the game, and like your cards would like be on both.
I mean, based on our interviews we've had with CD Projekt Red, I think they kind of predicted that Gwent would be a hit because they were getting hooked on it.
their
in the
director
office.
is really
They're
yeah,
super
yeah.
cocky.
Yeah.
They
Right.
I could totally see him doing that though, especially if like, as they say, they're taking a little bit of a break with the Witcher franchise or not sure what the future is, like just to give something Witcher themed for fans out there, you know, like
Yeah.
a year or so from now, like why not?
They better get on that hot
Get
whatever
on it.
cyberpunk business that they have been teasing.
Yeah.
That
yeah, for like
sounds-
3-4 years
Yeah, it's
ago.
been a
or
while.
something
It's
been
at
a
this
long
point,
time,
and
'cause, like-
we've never seen anything since.
Yeah, it was that trailer. Like we were at the studio for the Witcher 3 cover story the day that they released the trailer for Cyberpunk. That one with like the lady in the rain that was all slow-mo and stuff like that. So I was like just frothing at the mouth for that thing. I wanted it so bad. And they would not talk about it at all. I think it was still a relatively small team, but they announced it so that they could staff up basically for The Witcher because they didn't want to announce The Witcher 3 yet. So they announced Cyberpunk.
What?
There was
I thought
some
they
weird
had
deal.
announced it.
Interesting
Really?
logic.
No.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was a weird
really
twist. So
weird.
they basically staffed up for Witcher 3 by making awesome Cyberpunk trailers and teasing out that content.
Yeah, teasing out and then stopped working on it so they could finish Witcher 3.
I think they always intended to finish Witcher 3 first, then get to Cyberpunk.
By the time, like speaking of Witcher 3 and like upcoming games, like it's just I'm having like the grim realization that like I have a bunch of travel coming up, like a couple weeks worth, and by the time that's all said and done, Mad Max and Metal Gear will be out.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I will
yeah.
have still like 20 to 30% left of Witcher's main storyline left.
Good luck, man.
You've missed your chance. Do you feel like you missed your chance? Like,
I mean, you know, I made my own bed. I started kind of getting
Witchers?
distracted with other. No, I made my own bed. It's actually a unicorn. But
good inside joke.
hey, well, you know, we do what we can here. Anyway, yeah, I've found my own other distractions. It's my fault at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to get around to Witcher realistically here. Like I just finished up Arkham Knight. I was
Also good
put that
game.
off for way too long. Finally got around to it. Just beeline through the main story like we talked about a little bit last week. But we're not going to say a single spoiler here. That game's ending is so awesome.
Oh yeah.
I cannot believe that it took me so long to get around to that game because
You're
that
talking
main
about
story.
the proper ending, not the ending like after you do 100%.
I'm talking. Yeah, I watched all that, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. But the
But
ending of
the
game,
build up
yeah.
and the twists and just how bold and weird that ending gets, I absolutely fell in love with it. I feel like people are not giving Rocksteady enough credit creatively just for the story that they chose to tell and how twisted and bizarre it gets by the end of it.
Well, and the cool things they do with like the tech or like the video game magic, let's say, like things
Exactly.
happening when you turn around and like
Exactly.
change.
It takes
Like, I
advantage of the
love
medium
that.
so well.
They do a really good job
Like
with that.
after finishing that, it feels like that game has so many bold, bizarre moments. It feels Kojima-esque. And I really want to go back and talk to Sefton Hill now about his love of Metal Gear Solid and Kojima references in there, because there's even like a game over screen where a character goes like Batman,
Yeah, I remember that.
Batman, where it's like,
Oh, really?
wait a minute, yeah,
I do remember that.
There's one
that's
specific Metal Gear
cool.
Solid reference, and then there's also an area later on where you're kind of like sneaking into like this training facility, and there's a bunch of guards there, and it's just like the bottom of the tanker.
Oh, sure.
In Metal Gear Solid 2, where the guards are being trained. It reminded me so much of that. It's like, I wonder if they're
There
going for that
close to
homage.
that many of them?
What's that?
Was there close to
No,
the-
not
okay.
nearly that many, but it's definitely like dozens of guards down there.
You know what? I know we can't really talk about it here, but I'm blanking on what was so memorable about the ending. Like I think
Really?
it's blurred over a little bit. I think I could tell you some parts of what happened, but maybe
Yeah.
not what is
Why can't
so
we talk about it?
specifically so specifically like I'll have to ask you between things. But
Yeah, I really, really was blown away by how smart certain things in that game are, and then how wildly stupid, where it just, that entire game is a fluctuation of me being like, God, this is so cool. This is such a weird, bold thing they're doing
Right.
here. And then, oh, another fight with tanks in the streets.
Yeah.
Like, when you reach the point where even if you've tolerated the Batmobile and those tank fights, there's a point where it's like, all right, I think I've had enough. And then they throw about 4 more on top of that on you. And it's like, what are they doing? Why do they shove this down our throats?
there's one huge one near the end of the game. It's just like a tremendous
that
Yeah.
was
tank
like
fight.
a little long.
I died a couple of times, but you can just kind of like find a little place to hide. At a certain point, hopefully people beefed up their Batmobile armor all the way.
I did not for
No?
that fight. I actually ended up
rough.
turning the difficulty down for that fight just because my Batmobile was so just bare bones.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with the Batmobile tank stuff. I know a lot of people complain about it. I think the biggest problem with it is it's not super Batman-y. And it's like, that is obviously a problem in a Batman game, but I think if you're in a different game, those mechanics would have been fine.
Sure.
Nobody would have
It
thought about
handled
it.
well. It's like you said, there's just too many of them,
Yeah.
and it takes away from the overall feeling of the game. And I actually enjoyed the Batmobile stuff on the whole. It's
I
just-
like driving around in it, but do you like even the tank fights?
Yeah, like
Oh,
I do
like
too.
You're absolutely insane.
I disarmed all the bombs around the city and did all those tank fights.
I'm with you, Brian.
I think
I'm super with you, and I don't even care about like the sort of thematic dissonance that people talk about between like Batman just blowing stuff up. Like, well, no, like the Arkham Knight has a ton of militarized drones.
Yeah.
Like Batman
Yeah.
has to escalate his tactics to meet that. Like, I know it's all to satisfy some gameplay that Rocksteady came up with. I get sort of the contrivances about that, but
Yeah.
like, I still thought it was really satisfying.
What if the Arkham Knight had just put a person in one of those drones and Batman would have blown it
How
up?
do
He
we
would have
know
been
that?
crippled.
How do we know he
Crushed.
didn't?
Maybe he did.
Arkham
Maybe
Knight-
that's how he
Arkham Knight
wins.
would have had to been like, guess what I made you do.
And then, like, all like the lampposts in Gotham, he like hid a living person in the middle of it, so that when the Batmobile like plows it over, he'd be like, "Jokes again on you, Batman."
That pillar that crumbled really cool in the police department,
Made of
that's really
people.
all pure people brick.
Something else people
bodies.
aren't really
a bunch
talking.
of mannequins in there. No, people. No.
People aren't really talking about with this game either. Just the lack of boss fights. It's really weird for a series that's had so many awesome boss
Yeah.
fights.
Yeah.
There's like a handful of things you can kind of consider boss fights, but none of them are great.
Yeah, that's
at
a good point.
all. Especially like, spoiler, you fight the Arkham Knight. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But like that fight in particular, it's like this
way
just
it goes
feels
down.
awkward and
Yeah.
lame. Like what the hell
Are
is
you talking
even
about the
happening
one,
here?
the tank, or where you're in the Batmobile fighting him?
Not that one. I'm
Underground.
talking
The one,
about
like,
the
right
one
after that?
Yeah, where he's
I hate
trying
both
to
of
snipe
those,
you.
honestly.
I actually kind of like that.
Did you
like
really?
that?
I see.
know.
I liked it. I liked that sequence, and I liked the way that it tested your skills that you'd been building up the entire game. But it's not satisfying in the way where it's like, all right, fight the boss, dodge these moves, open it up for attack, mash the punch button to get some
Yeah.
hits in, and then you do a set amount of damage to their life bar, and then have to do the thing over again. Like the Mr. Freeze fight was so great.
nothing
and-
Yeah,
lives up to
that's
that
the
Mr.
go-to.
Freeze fight, yeah.
I'm wondering how much of the side content contains something like a boss fight, though. Have you guys done a lot of that stuff? Should I go back?
I mean, it seems like the Penguin fights are all the sort of combat stuff.
Okay.
The Two-Face stuff is all Predator challenges.
Okay.
I
The
don't even
Rit-
think you fight him at the end, right?
I don't know. I didn't
don't
make it
remember
through.
fighting
I don't think you do.
I didn't do
Well,
like, any of
he's.
that.
I think he's just like one of the thugs that comes out.
Yeah, you know
You
what?
miss
That's
him?
right. Two-Face can be taken down just like a regular
Yeah,
thug. I remember
he's just
talking
a
to Reiner
regular
about
thug.
that.
Such a weird detail.
In the Harley Quinn DLC, there is a boss fight.
So look out for that, everybody.
Is it?
I don't
spoiler-
think you
is
can buy it.
Spoilery, if you.
It's a prequel to the game, so I don't think you can really. It's Nightwing.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're
Interesting.
Harley Quinn, you fight Nightwing.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Tim, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that I'm probably as behind on The Witcher as I am is it has to do with a few things. Like it's at E3, I did a preview for Street Fighter V, and it reminded me like this game's really cool. I am just not great at this game, and like I can manage my way through fighting games, but I've never really felt like I've totally understood them. And then following that, we interviewed Seth Killian several weeks back talking about Rising Thunder, and I played some of that, and I really liked the idea of it being a more accessible fighting game, but I didn't want to wait for that. And then, gosh, there was another thing that kind of clicked. I don't know if I found an article or something, but basically, I started reading, and Evo happened. Evo happened. I watched some of that and some of those matches, but specifically like between like Gamerby and Infiltration and stuff. There was just some really fantastic stuff.
So Tim bought a kitten.
So I got a new cat.
going.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
where
it
he's
built
going.
up, and I
Kitten fighter.
yeah, I named it Hadouken, and I just felt like it worked out pretty well.
Bravo. All right, we're done with the podcast.
Yep.
So again,
Hey, that's a wrap.
we got to end it here.
But there's a couple things I can point to. I remembered an article on Polygon a while ago that was kind of an abridged like chapter from this book by Patrick Miller, which is called From Masher to Master. Just a
from
video
Master
game.
Miller?
Yes, exactly, Master Miller. He's my Goken. So it basically, yeah, I think it's From Masher to Master, a video game enthusiast's guide to fighting games. And what this thing did is it took like 27 seconds at one point of a Ryu versus Ryu fight and just broke it down, everything. Like, okay, you open this match by throwing a fireball. And, fighting game enthusiasts are going to be rolling their eyes at this because this is very, very fundamental. But throws a fireball, and then you learn what you can do versus a fireball. You can block it. You can jump over it. You can hit it with your own fireball. But if you jump over it, you open yourself up to a Shoryuken, like
So
a
it just
dragon
breaks
punch.
down all the different rock, paper, scissors of Street Fighter 4?
It does, but that's...
Okay.
And then that goes into just like the mix-up of what happens when a character is knocked down. Like when you get up, you can attack, or you can block, or you can get up and do nothing and try to throw the other person. And yeah, like laying out the rock, paper, scissors mechanics in a way that I always knew that was at the core of fighting games, but I really needed it laid out with this specific detail. And this ebook, it's a free ebook. I found it on shoryuken.com. You can just go and do some homework, practicing and training. And this all led up to me finally like doing some combos that I could do fairly consistently, going online, winning some matches, which was absurd. And then I noticed something like Call of Duty. We talked about, I think the other week, games that make you really frustrated. And Call of Duty, just getting shot in the back, and I don't know what I could have done differently. Like that infuriates me. I used to get pissed off playing Street Fighter and just losing for dozens of matches in a row. But now that I know where I'm failing and what someone else was doing well, the frustration's kind of melted away. I just understand. And this kind of led up to us playing a bunch of Street Fighter. We have a cabinet set up upstairs that can basically play PlayStation 3 games, but it has fight sticks on it, and it's like an arcade cabinet. We got a couple rooms of Street Fighter going, of people of all skill levels, and it's been really fun.
What did you learn from that whole thing?
That I like fighting games, and that it's super important to play people that are close to your skill level in person, so
or
that
else they'll storm off in a rage if they lose too easily.
Oh yeah, this is good. Well, you talked about that last week,
did,
right?
yeah.
Basically, playing online, like no one seemed like hardcore fighting game fans don't seem to that I've talked to seem to do it a lot. They prefer to fight in person or practice their combos and stuff like that. And I think partially that has to do with like latency and stuff like that and your internet connection, but also because like there's a strong sense of community. You watch Evo, you see someone just wreck someone, or it's a bad beat at the very end of a match, and they hug afterwards because it's just like, all right, it's a community, and
Or just make out.
it just gives someone a nice little kiss.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's all to say that I think I'm literate now in fighting games, even though I'm afraid to like veer off from Ryu yet.
Well, this is the thing.
He's a good go-to.
Do you just like Street Fighter because of that legacy? And because, you like Capcom a fair amount. Do you think that this passion would carry over to other fighting games as well?
Well, I think it would help me appreciate other fighting games more, because Street Fighter 2 is just like the backbone of all fighting games. Like, they go in, Patrick Miller goes into some detail in his book, but just talking about like, Ryu's like fireball, dragon punch sort of combo, and then the mix up of like the rock, paper, scissors of throw, punch, and block. Like that's somewhere in all fighting games to some extent. And just knowing then just gets into shades of different systems and stuff within that. So I'm excited to bring it to other fighting games. I don't plan on playing a lot else besides Street Fighter 4, and if the beta for Street Fighter V ever gets up and
Do you
running.
think
It
it
seems like
like,
it's slowly getting there.
Yeah.
crosses over to stuff like Smash Brothers, even like something as oddball fighter as that?
I think the one thing I could bring to Smash Brothers is when someone's rolling around me like an idiot, just remembering to grab them from time to time will break their bubble immediately.
Yeah.
And that's something I just thought of when you just mentioned that. But Smash is just, it's so chaotic and so different.
Speaking of Smash, though, it really wasn't until last week that I had a friend over and we played the new Smash DLC.
Yeah.
I say new, came out, a month ago, maybe over that?
A while ago. Yeah,
What,
it has
Ryu?
Ryu.
Yeah, it has Ryu.
That is
exactly.
E3.
Oh, was it really? Holy Lord. Yeah, so I got the Ryu and I got Mewtwo. And then you get Ryu's stage with it, and then also the Hyrule Castle from 64 version,
Castle.
and then Peach's Castle. Yeah, so I got all that in there, and it turns out playing Ryu in Smash Brothers is fun as hell.
Really?
Like,
It is.
I've dabbled a little bit with like Street Fighter 2 recently, and just having that love of Street Fighter 2 carry over into Smash, a game that I know so well, it feels so satisfying.
What is it though that makes him more fun to play, you think, in Smash Brothers as opposed to like
It just my familiarity with Smash. I mean, I've been playing Smash for so long. Just having like, okay, I know his moves. I can do it the Street Fighter way to shoot the fireballs, which is cool. Like they kept that moveset in,
Yeah.
which it creates a more powerful version. Or you can just do it by just hitting B, and you create a smaller, shorter range version
Yeah,
of it
Probably
in Smash.
faster.
it's a really cool
Yeah,
idea.
but then also just having Ryu with those moves that look cool. You can do the Hurricane Kick and all that stuff, and then taking him into an arena where you put him up against Little Mac. In like the Punch Out stage, you're
Oh,
hearing
that's
the
cool.
Punch Out music while Little Mac fights Ryu.
That's pretty
It's-
good.
It's the dumb basic Smash Brothers thrill of characters mashing up, but it just having that brand new character in Smash is so exciting.
I need to ask you a couple questions about him because
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to dive into him in a meaningful way. I played Ryu for the first time in an 8-player Smash battle, and didn't have like the muscle memory for his moves as down as I do now. But so what I'm guessing is he has a regular jump,
Yep.
and then a Dragon Punch is also
Yes.
one. But then his Hurricane Kick usually brings him like laterally. You know what I
It's
mean?
not the Hurricane Kick
It's
is
stationary, right?
his. God, I forget if it's his B over, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's he does the Dragon Punch to get back up on the ledge.
Okay, gotcha.
Uh, Yeah, but his stage is fine. But the
Great
real
music.
Yeah, great music. It's Ken's theme or Ryu's theme, like 3 different versions of it. But the real star of the show, and I'm so pissed it took me so long to get around to playing this, is that Miiverse stage.
Oh, it's so great.
It's hilarious because it'll pull up character-specific Miiverse posts and just litter the background with it.
Oh, really?
And it's just the most twisted, dark, weird jokes. You know, nothing.
Actual one from the actual Miiverse though.
Yes, it isn't like the super approved kind of like Splatoon has the billboards and Miiverse posts, but it's never anything that freaky or weird.
I don't know.
Oh, really?
I've
Is
seen
it?
like conspiracy theories of like September 11th up on my Splatoon billboards.
oh, man.
Stop drawing those, Brian. But with Miiverse, like they're
September,
all-
the 11th of September.
that's
Yes.
right.
Or is it
The
September the 11th?
11th of September is how Nintendo's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
said it,
Yeah.
ever since 2001. But in the Miiverse
Yeah.
post, it'll just pull in whatever 2 characters you bring in. It has character-specific posts in the background, and it's all just weird posts making fun of them. Like Dr. Mario, it was just 1,000 weird ways to bash that character, or like Robin, just like it's bizarre but really fun. And then the thrill is whoever wins the match while fighting on Miiverse, the honor is that you get to submit one for your character that'll then go in the pool for everybody else. So it's just like it is the
so
best
great.
combination of Smash Brothers, a super solid new stage. It's basically just Battlefield or Battleground, and then in the background, just constant randomly generated or randomly popping up hilarity.
It sounds like people would just be distracted constantly and just laughing in the middle of a match while it's
Yes.
like, oh yeah, I need to beat this guy.
It is exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you suddenly start laughing. The person's like, "What's so funny?" Oh, that's right, a new one just popped up in the background, and it's really offensive. Okay, that's great.
Pretty good. Any genitalia squeak through in there?
There's some squeaky genitalia in there,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
for sure.
So
It'll get
are
through.
they pulling those live from something, or is it stuff
I don't
they
think-
made?
No. They're pulling it live from everybody
Oh,
else.
okay. So yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo isn't making this. No.
I mean, I assumed, but you know.
No, not quite. But I definitely recommend checking out that DLC if you've kind of been sleeping. And it makes me so hungry for them to keep that going, kind of like they have for Splatoon, kept that life going so well.
Well, honestly, the last chapter of that Patrick Miller book, The Master to Master, actually says to just do a 8-player Ryu match over and over again.
Is that
in
right?
Smash Brothers Wii U, yeah. And
It's the only way.
That's how you get good at that.
But also, speaking of fighting games, I wanted to point out real quick, just for a Dragon Ball Z minute, on 3DS, there's this game coming out. It's a 2D Dragon Ball Z fighter called Extreme Butoden. I'm sure I'm butchering that name. It's coming out in October, but they have a free demo up on the eShop now. So
Seems it's got like some Marvel vs. Capcom tag type stuff going on.
yeah, which is kind of the bummer where it's like, I'm such a simpleton in fighting games. I just want to learn one character.
Right.
But then you're required to choose 3 for this game. So it's 3 different combos and movesets that you have to understand. But the basics, I think, feel pretty good.
Right.
I always liked like the Budokai games.
Yeah, I love
always
those.
loved
yeah.
those.
Yeah, this is a
least 1 and
2D
3.
version of that, but it feels like a much more precise, faster fighting game than the old Budokai games. So
And that's on 3DS?
yeah, you should definitely check it out, Tim.
Well, yeah, I'd grab that. I'd give it a shot. You know,
Okay.
I'm down for a portable game that's like a portable fighting game that's built for portable. I have Super Street Fighter 4 on my 3DS, and it's like it's good for what it is, but it's like not quite what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with your new fighting game prowess, I'm curious what you think of that game.
Do not call it prowess, but I would like to try to get some more fights going on with the Game Informer community to see if we can get some.
We
endless
stayed after
battles.
last Friday.
Keep picking
Yeah.
some fights.
That was pretty fun. We did
Well.
like 10, 15 matches.
Yeah.
We plowed through a few.
You guys should come and fight with me again
That sounds good.
in real life after work
You've been
by the
challenged.
playground.
Should we move on to emails, you guys?
Let's move on to emails.
Here we go.
Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. So this is the email segment. We are going to we got a bunch of good emails here from people that watch and listen. You can send your emails, whether it's a question or a fun hypothetical, to podcast@gameinformer.com. And we select the one that we think is the best and then send a nice little thank you in the mail. You won't even be able to guess what it is. No one knows. It's a big secret, but you do get something. So let's kick it off here. This is Connor from Virginia. Love the podcast and the people on it. Continue your great work. Here's my question. What game or experience in recent memory has reminded you why you love video games or rekindled the flame of passion for them? Here's my answer. I've never stopped. This is Connor's answer.
Yeah, he's got
I've never stopped playing video games, but early in January, it just didn't have the same spark as usual. I didn't know if the games I was playing were lackluster or if I was simply playing too much and burning out. I played video games less and less because of this. Then Bloodborne came out. Bloodborne was my first From game, and it ignited a blazing fire in me. I grew obsessed and enamored with every detail. Exploring the world was tantalizing, and fighting the bosses was intense yet rewarding. It was one of the most enthralling experiences I've had in recent memory. I've proceeded to get up to New Game Plus and getting the platinum before putting the game down. In short, Bloodborne reminded me of how wonderful games can be. Now I wait
7.5 out of 10.
for the next experience to take my life for hours at a time.
He's going to take his
my
life. What?
over.
Whoa.
Sorry, take
Don't
over
do
my
it.
life for hours at a
okay.
time.
Sure.
That's Connor.
I think we always have that. At least I have that every year. Since we're so focused on like the game of the year debates and handing out the awards at the end of the year, there's kind of a pretty clean slate. Like once that clock rolls over into the next year, it's like, all right, starting from scratch. And you start getting a couple months in, and if you haven't found anything that you've really loved yet, I start getting scared. And so like this year for me, it wasn't until I dove into Cities Skylines where I was like, okay, I for sure love at least one game this year, and now I'm just stacking more on top of that. But I needed that baseline, which last year I don't know if I really had.
Really?
It was kind of a dry. No, I did, but it was a dry year
Last year was kind of lacking in like the super great games.
Right. But overall, as far as like things that have kind of rekindled a love for gaming, I think like the couch co-op competitive, basically local multiplayer kind of resurgence that's happened over the last 2 years, I'd say 2-3 years, has reminded me how much I love video games because I've always been a big fan of just getting a bunch of people in a room and playing around one TV. And it's a weird thing, but I think it might have really started, before Towerfall and Samurai Gun and all that, like with Nintendo Land. Like playing Mario Chase in a room was so much fun. And then not too long after that, you had that Rayman Legends Kung Foot minigame, which was so much fun when you had 4 players going in at that. So I think that...
I feel like you've always liked multiplayer.
I have.
Like, sit down and...
Yeah, for sure. But I don't think there was a bit of a dry spell there for a while where it's like, oh, we're going to play the 360 version of Perfect Dark. Here we go, everybody.
All right.
Yeah. But now, even continuing today with Rocket League, Tim, we just played last week getting 4 people in a room.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
It's immediately fun. I watched one match and I was like, oh, that looks a lot of fun. Got in there. I was like, this is fantastic.
Fun. That's
right.
So that's my answer.
Kept chanting that. Brian?
For me, it was I kind of had a dull period. I would say like March through April, where like I liked City Skylines, but it didn't really like rejuvenate me to the point where I was just like, all right, I'm totally back in with gaming.
You're on the verge of quitting. You had your resignation
months
letter
in.
written, and you're ready to slide it under Andy's door.
Ready to give up on life.
It was Witcher 3 started
Okay.
me back kind of on the path of righteousness, and that kind of pushed me right back in with Arkham Knight. And Arkham Knight was what really got me going and got the engines revving at full speed again.
The old Brian Shea
Batmobile.
juices.
Batmobile engines.
Yeah. So Arkham Knight was kind of the big one for me, and then I started playing Borderlands 2 lately with my girlfriend, and we both had played it previously, both of the Borderlands games, 1 and 2, and we never finished either of them because we just, the people we were playing with either just kind of dropped off or we were trying to go it alone, and that's just not the way to go with Borderlands.
But do you think a lot of that is having that split screen?
We're not doing split screen. We have the 2 TV setup in the living room,
sacrilege.
so we bought the Handsome Collection on Xbox
Well,
One.
why is that sacrilege? For
That's great.
Borderlands?
No, that's
And
fantastic.
it's awesome. We each have our own Xbox One on our own TV, and we're just sitting next to each other. So we're doing couch co-op, but on 2 separate screens, which is
Certainly.
just the best.
Yeah, when your arms are around each other too.
Yeah,
Get a
it's
nice
really
little-
weird. Like we're doing the thing where like I hold one side of the controller and she holds the other. And
The figure eight
And
of
you
love,
loop
we
your
call
arms
it.
Through, yeah.
It's interesting you didn't go for pre-sequel.
we are doing pre-sequel next.
Okay.
For Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Good.
All right, so
Well,
go.
is it my turn? Is that what's
I
happening?
guess so.
I don't get that feeling a ton, actually. So it's been a couple years since I've really had that feeling of just being totally in the doldrums. I'll say maybe like slightly at the beginning of the year, kind of like Hanson saying, you're like, well, what's the game this year that I'm really looking forward to? Because I always go back and play last year's games that I missed, which usually are still pretty fun. But the first game that I remember, like this year, being like, oh yeah, this is Box Boy, actually.
Oh, that
Which
is a
is
good
like
one.
a somewhat
weird.
obscure 3DS game that they debuted on some Nintendo Direct, and I was like, what? That's interesting, and immediately fell for.
I
It's
remember-
an adorable, like the guys who created Kirby. You play this little box who is also a boy, ironically enough.
How do
And
you
he
tell?
Well, he has legs and he's not wearing a dress. There's a
There is a character that has
there
a
is
dress.
a character that has a dress. So
Oh,
it's like,
really?
yeah,
Oh, okay,
they-
yes,
they
how
do
you
a
can
lot of
tell.
things.
Okay.
I remember former intern Justin Mikos was all about that game, and I was like, oh, well, I'm flying out to California for a business trip. I'm gonna download this and give it a shot, and I beat it like on the plane ride there and back. I over that time I beat it, and
Awesome.
I loved it.
And you felt
Justin's
empty
our
inside
little
again,
box
right?
Maybe I should grab that.
Yeah, it's a really really good 3DS.
It's a really
game.
good playing game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like what, like $5 too?
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's super
like,
cheap,
It's pretty
for sure.
cheap, and I had a lot of fun with it. You just create these like interesting shapes and then like hop on. It's kind of a puzzle platformer. It
sounds
that
pretty
makes
good.
sense. It's fun. I recommend it to everybody, and I think more people should play it.
I was
There
not
we go.
expecting that choice. I've fallen pretty much with Connor here. Like last year, there were some cool games. I think last year was like the big contenders were Dragon Age, Inquisition, and
Mordor. That's
which was
right.
like
That's what happened
It was
last
a
year.
it was a fun conversation, but
It was
I
a
don't
good
think
game.
that anyone even like I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I didn't feel like those were either I didn't think either of them were just like slam dunk game of the years. You put them in any other year, as much as I loved Mordor, and I really wasn't a huge fan of Dragon Age Inquisition.
I think if those games came out this year,
Right.
I think we have other games that top it at this point.
Exactly. You know, but the year before there was Last of Us, which was like a clear winner.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was just something going into the beginning of this year where I didn't realize how lacking last year was for me overall.
Yeah.
And then Bloodborne came out and I was just like, oh Christ. Because like earlier that year, earlier in 2014, I had played through Dark Souls
were
2
reborn.
and really liked it. And I was reborn in the light of Bloodborne
Yeah.
through the act of blood ministration. And it was just great. It was just like following, just playing, you know, some games that were there was challenge within some of these games that I'd played, but I just felt like I was earning it again, and it felt really tight and polished, and using my skills from Dark Souls 2. So that was really rejuvenating. And on top of that, there's 2 other instances from this year, which was like finally getting my head around Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and just like, oh, I get Monster Hunter, and liked it, and racked in like almost like 100 hours or whatever. And then same with Street Fighter, where it's just kind of like getting 2 things that had always been a little bit more elusive for me.
And now, as far as the Capcom stuff goes, you just sort of play Beautiful Joe, and then you'll finish off all those Capcom games
Then
that you've
that's
been
it.
meaning to get around to.
There's another Capcom example somewhere. I can't remember. There's
Okami? Did you ever play that?
oh, I love Okami.
that's a great one.
There's got to be some more in there that are just like outliers where it's just like, I don't know.
Hey
if I
Reeves,
get
you
that.
played Beautiful Joe, right?
Yeah, the first one. I never got around to the second one.
I didn't either. Don't you think Tim would love that game?
I think that's right up Tim's alley.
I should check that
That's-
out.
Hey, that should be a game club style game.
Ooh, actually, that's a good one.
You guys talked about Games Club already?
Yeah, we've talked about it on the podcast. We haven't aired any options, but we're still mulling over exactly which route to take.
Is that exclusive to you two, or can I get
No. Yeah, it just
Send
depends
the
on the
whole game
game.
for
I
me?
sent out an email. No one responded to it.
Did you send it to other people? Because I don't remember getting
Well-
it.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Let's move along.
All right.
Well, we can mull over the game club ideas later on. And if you have suggestions for a game you think would be good for a game club and
Yeah.
you're listening, send it to
Splinter Cell connection.
podcast@gameinformer.com. Old game, new game. I think what we're kind of going for is something that's like just slightly off the beaten path, like a strong B tier that you meant to get to, but for some reason just didn't. Maybe there's bigger titles out at the time.
From Telltale.
I don't know about that one. All right.
That one's terrible.
This one is all right. Great question, Connor. Hey guys, Jonathan from Indiana here. After going back with my girlfriend and playing some of my favorite games of all time, I started to think about why exactly I fell in love with this media in the first place, and was wondering the same for you. How old were you? What game or event made you realize this was your passion, and how did you pursue your careers? I think it's nice to take stock of the events that got us to where we are today. Take care, John. I think that's interesting.
boy, yeah.
I think it's an interesting follow-up because the last question was just like, lifelong passion, if you felt it fizzling out or just kind of petering out for a second, what was it that brought you back? And it's interesting to go back to just kind of like where it started to begin with. I can kick it off.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, I think I always liked games, and I feel like I've told this before, but we had an Atari and a Sega Master System, and I wasn't great at these games. I'd watch my cousins play Nintendo games, and but I'd play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong for Atari, or Alex Kidd or Shinobi on Master System. But it was the Christmas that we got a Sega Genesis and Sonic, and I was able to sit down and be like, oh, so I can just play this uninterrupted, and it's a game that actually feels doable, not like archaic, kind of like admittedly not amazing 8-bit Sega games. So that was a big turning point for me, and just it looked good, it was new, and Sonic is immediately appealing, and still appealing, obviously.
Because of the rugged attitude.
Oh yeah, he had some tude. His idle animation is what really pulled me in there, wiggling that finger at me. I didn't know better. So that was up there. And then as far as pursuing my career, it was once I realized that, these people in Game Informer magazine, they're people. People have to write these things. And I just also realized that I wasn't into the career I was going down, and just on a wing and a prayer, just emailed Megan Marie, who's currently at Crystal Dynamics doing stuff for Tomb Raider, and asked her how she got that job, because she went to the U of M as well.
So you want to give out our email address so everybody can kind of get that same path?
So regardless, it was, and now I'm in a position where I am helping kind of head up the intern team with Ben Reeves. We talked about the internship program on last week's show if you want to find out more about that, but that was kind of how I got in. So
Yeah. The whole thing. I'm trying to think of like the 1-2 punch, and it was, I loved Oregon Trail as a kid, stuff like that, but it wasn't until Final Fantasy VII where I saw that for the first time. I was like, oh, good Lord, games are capable of something else, because I'd never played an RPG or even like a story-based game. I mean, Crash 1 had a pretty sophisticated
Sunset
lore.
Riders.
Yeah, that's true. Richard Road isn't going to take himself down. But I think what cemented it for me was like around 2006, 2007, falling in love with 1UP, like 1UP.com, their old website. The 1UP show, the video show, and then 1UP Yours, the podcast. Like that was a real heavy-hitting thing where it's like, well, I don't know if it was just a perfect time where I was lonely in college and that content was being pumped out on a regular basis, but I just fell in so much love with the industry based on those that website.
It's interesting. So it wasn't like a game for you. It was more people talking about games.
But getting absorbing conversations, intelligent, charismatic conversations about games that sort of give the actual games you're playing like more context and meaning and stuff. I could see how that would really hook you. Is that how you got hooked on podcasts in general?
Well, it's kind of the Adam Carolla radio shows over on the West Coast, and so then I listened to a podcast to get that.
How'd you get hooked on phonics?
That's a great question. That was also the Phonics podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Back in 2008.
Yeah,
Phonics
Gin and
website.
Phonics, right?
Never missed an episode.
Brian Shea, hit us, man.
I started playing games with like Nintendo, NES, Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt. But I think that like when I made the jump to Super NES, that was when I really got into like all right, this could be like a thing that I do for the rest of my life. Like playing Super Mario World and Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Country, like that really, really hooked me, unlike anything on NES was able to.
Okay.
And then I remember I got that for Christmas one year, and then played through all those games that I just mentioned, and then we were moving to Florida from Maryland, and my parents packed away my Super Nintendo. And they got me, they're like, oh, well, it's packed away and you won't see it for like 3 months. And I'm like, oh, great. So they were like, all right, well, we know you're just staying at your grandparents for a while, so we're going to take you to a store and get you a Sega Genesis. So
what a gift.
That was a very...
That's the dream, right? Having both systems?
Yeah, that was an awesome gesture from my parents.
Yeah.
And they made my dreams come true by giving me a Sega Genesis and Sonic 2 and Echo the Dolphin in the bundle.
That's pretty good.
And so, but Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I would say, was really what I was absolutely obsessed with. I think I beat that game probably 20 or 25 times.
And once you could save your progress, your sense of ownership and control over the experience, that was huge.
Yeah, that's what really pushed it forward. Like Sonic 2 may have better designed levels, but I think that Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the save capability, the fact that it was you start at the beginning of Sonic 3 and then go all the way through the end of Sonic and Knuckles. It's one branching.
It was a saga.
Or yeah, exactly. It's just one story compiled into one game experience, and it was just awesome. And
the best Sonic experience.
Blew my stupid little brain away.
You guys should dress up as Sonic and Knuckles for Halloween.
They always
Christmas
Okay.
and just pop out of a present.
It always looks great.
As for this becoming a career, I guess it was I started off when I was writing. I had a job in college where I was a resident assistant, so I had to sit at a desk for 4 or 5 hours a night whenever it was my night to be on duty. And I would I had my laptop down there and I started writing about music with a friend. We started up a rock website and just writing about music. And we had an off-topic section. And I was like, I've been playing Fallout 3 a lot at that time. And I was like,
okay.
I'm really loving this game. I'm just going to write a review. It's not for anyone in particular. It's just going to go in the off-topic section of the website. And I wrote it and I was like, I kind of like doing that. Maybe I'll do it for a couple other games. I remember I wrote a scathing review of Sonic 2006. And
how dare you?
And
you've really come around on that game, right?
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Check out our replay for more.
Ben Reeves, what do you got?
There's a game called Volume by Tom Bissell. Really changed my.
How many different ways can you mispronounce his last name?
What
By
is
the
his
end
name?
of Bithell.
Bithell. I don't know. I like Bissell, actually.
Did you say Thomas Bithell? It's Mike Bithell.
He's a different
Thomas
Mike. No, he was an old
Thomas was
Atari
alone.
programmer.
No. You guys don't know what game we're
Thomas
talking
was a
about.
thistle.
Thomas was a thistle. The question is, what game got me into... So I had a friend named Terry who had a...
Terry Tissel?
Terry Tissel, who actually had a Nintendo. I never had one when I was a kid. So
And you called it Terry?
Yeah. It was Pet Rock. So I always play games at his house, and that's kind of what got me into gaming. I just remember Mario always existing. It just seems like a thing that always existed. But the game that first got me into it was Double Dragon. As the game that I remember playing. I was like, why can't I just play games all the time?
And that was your interview with Andy as well. Just sat him down and
seriously,
said that.
Why aren't we playing games
Andy,
right now? You keep asking me these questions.
Do you want to play Double Dragon with me?
Terry said it was okay if I came here.
But he didn't even own Double Dragon either, so we always would have to gather up change and stuff from his piggy bank and dig into his parents' cushions to see if we could find enough nickels
Gross.
to
That's
go.
perfect.
And then we'd bike
Mother's
over
purse.
to the rental store and rent a game. And it was usually Double Dragon. Probably 9 times out of 10 we rented Double Dragon.
It's like if you would have just saved those quarters and went to
We could have just bought it.
the store. Oh well, that story is perfect though.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. And also Double Dragon is a cool name when you're 8-year-old. And then it's also just why are you guys laughing so much?
You're just funny.
It's just the cool two dudes who are brothers. It was
Cool
this
two dudes.
It was this power fantasy, honestly.
8-year-old cool
Yeah,
two dude.
it is.
Yeah, you had muscles,
That was
which
the alternate
I
title, actually.
also had when I was 8. But and you're fighting a bunch of guys who look really badass, and it was just a lot of fun.
A Bobo, the most badass looking person.
I still like games like that.
Yeah.
They don't make a lot of them anymore, but
Beat 'em ups
games
are
where
great.
it's just 2 beat 'em ups, I would do that all the time.
They're great for one level, then you realize that they're super boring when you play through the entire game.
I don't know,
Says the person who adores Sunset
Castle
Riders.
Crashers.
Look,
Didn't you play Castle
all
Crashers?
except for Castle Crashers is a good one for sure. If you get some progression mechanics in
Yeah,
there that are actually
you can
interesting.
pull it off.
Yeah.
All right. We got Paul from Grand Rapids, Michigan right
Oh,
in.
Paul.
I'm going to paraphrase. There's a lot of nice paraphrase in here. thank you
By
all.
the way, I think people have cracked the secret to figure out which emails get read on the air. It's just the ones that really go above and beyond for
So,
Tim.
first of all, just want to personally thank us, Test Chambers, Replay,
Right.
just a fan of everything
you're
we
the
do.
best,
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Here's
Keep up the good
$10.
work. I could go on and on, but I'm not much for kissing too much butts. So here's my question. That's
With a Z?
Inside joke, yeah, with a Z. With the announcement from Capcom earlier today, this might have been last week, of the long-awaited remake of Resident Evil 2, I literally almost teared up with excitement. I never thought it would actually happen, and I'm absolutely elated that it's finally in the works. This is something that's been years in the making, and seeing fans of the franchise absolutely explode over the news is extremely satisfying on so many levels.
It's also sad.
I know you shat your pants, Tim.
Oh, boy.
I don't know how you know that.
We all know that in the office.
And it really
can
got
smell it.
it really got me thinking about why there potentially have been so many HD remasters and remakes announced or released lately. Resident Evil Remake, Remastered, God of War 3
Gauze of
re-release.
War.
Gauze of War. It's important. Gauze and War, they go together. Final Fantasy 7 announced, etc. With this in mind, what do you all feel has caused this huge trend of rehashing from previous to next gen? And what do you feel this says about the current generation of games and gamers alike? I effing love all of you.
Ooh,
Paul
boy.
from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you for the letter, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
First of all,
a dick
one
that
thing
guy was.
I just want to temper it. I'm really excited for the Resident Evil 2 remake, but people were really excited for the Mega Man Legends 3 thing too. Again, that was probably tied to
this
Inafune
is-
leaving. It's a different thing. But anyway, I'm just
Are you saying there's a chance?
I don't know.
R2
There's
won't
always
happen?
a chance. I've just, you don't want to hang your hat like No Man's Sky or Spore or something. You just don't want to hang it on something that you project all your own wants and desires onto it and you don't even know what it is yet. That's what's happening here. But that does not change the fact that I'm super excited for it. But one thing I think that's worth pointing out before we dive in is that neither the PlayStation 3 or Xbox One launched with backwards compatibility at all.
PlayStation 3 did. The PlayStation 4 did not.
Right. Did I say PlayStation 3?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay. The current gen stuff, PS4, Xbox One, is what I meant to say. They didn't launch with backwards compatibility at all. So people were able to sell these things more easily, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. Also, new IP is really risky, and video games cost more to make than they ever have
Yeah,
before.
it turns out the people that love these old games are growing older, and there are a lot of us now, and we
Right.
like to spend money that make us feel like we're 12 years old again. And so I think the numbers are just coming into line where it's like, everything you guys want, here it is, except for a Sunset Riders sequel.
You think in 10, 20 years there's going to be a Minecraft remake? You think that'll be a thing?
No,
You don't think so?
no.
I don't know.
I think
Maybe
Minecraft
20 years.
Classic HD, or not HD, but Minecraft Classic or something
Yeah.
redo.
Just like going
In
back
VR
to like the
or something?
earliest.
I don't know.
I think it'll just be constantly evolving. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a Minecraft 2
We'll see.
coming up at some point, but
Yeah.
I also think that going into this generation, I don't know if this has come up before on this podcast, but going into this generation, there was a lot of questions about all right, how willing are people going to be to throw down $400 or $500 for a new console? Are these things really going to sell? And that's what kind of remastering The Last of Us is a lot lower risk than going in and doing an Uncharted 4.
Right.
So I think that there was a little bit of a wait and see period where hey, maybe we'll remaster Devil May Cry 4 and DMC before we test the waters with a whole new Devil May Cry entry.
It's true. Yeah.
And then they sold it like gangbusters, and now we're seeing a whole bunch of new IPs coming out and new sequels. And
it'd be, I can't confirm this, but Capcom is good about this. They like to, I think, kind of test the waters, Super Street Fighter 2 HD Turbo Remix or whatever. I think that
Yeah.
came out before the Street Fighter 4.
I think it did.
I think there's sort of like a testing the waters things that happens, or the Resident Evil remake. I would be surprised if the reception to that didn't have something to do with them greenlighting Resident Evil 2 remake.
Oh, for sure.
These sort of
definitely.
things happen constantly, and these sort of remakes and stuff and remasters are perfect.
Didn't Resident Evil Remake break some PSN record for sales?
yeah, for most downloaded. Yeah, it's crazy that it was PlayStation specific, but yeah,
Also,
it did really, really
also-
well.
That makes my heart feel so huge.
Yeah.
Like the Nemesis? Starting to pump
Yes,
out your chest.
the tyrant.
Yeah,
it's
the
coming to
tyrant,
the
yeah,
outside of my body.
It's also the game that I think convinced them to make a Resident Evil 2 remake. So
I just said that.
What are you talking about?
what?
That's what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Oh well, I don't know. What
Well,
you
we
guys
were in
think.
agreement then, Reeves. That's great.
Are we
That's
going
so
to talk
easy.
about Volume by Mike Biscoskable?
That's a
Are we
good.
ever going to do that?
That was a good one. All right. Paul. Thank you, Paul. All right. This one comes from Chuck from Portland, Maine. Hearing you guys talk about the river death in the Tomb Raider reboot.
River death, the famous river death.
Talking about where she's coming down the river and like gets her neck impaled by a tree branch. Yeah.
I'd rather watch Riverdance.
So Chuck says it made him think of a question for you guys. When I played that game and got that death scene, my reaction was to literally drop my controller and say, "I'm so sorry" to poor Laura. It's Laura. Some people write Laura. So it's Laura for getting a tree shoved through her head.
I'm sorry.
Have you ever accidentally caused a death or other event in a video game? Okay, that you literally had to apologize to the on-screen character for. Chuck from keep up the great work, Chuck from Portland, Maine. It's not specifically tied to saying I'm sorry, but I had to turn off
video games like a real life.
When I was playing Sonic, like I mentioned before, and I'd be running out of air underwater, and I'd hear that basically the Jaws music starting.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it, and if there wasn't an air bubble just within sight, I had to turn off the Sega, and it made me lose a lot of progress.
And then you'd cry and run to your mommy.
I couldn't get past Labyrinth Zone for a long time because I had to cry and run to my mommy every time that happened. Wow. I couldn't handle seeing my favorite character die, and one of the worst things about it, I'm pretty sure Sonic is almost maintaining eye contact with you as he floats off the screen.
Like you let this happen.
Yes.
He's wagging his finger as he's dying.
No, he has
said
no
the magic
attitude.
word.
He's devoid of attitude. It's just a blank stare.
His attitude is drowned.
As he just falls off the screen.
He's dead.
His one giant eye gets wide.
That's right. That's mine.
Gross. I think of Mass Effect 1, where everybody's always talking about in that game, like, things have consequences. You can really push and bend and play with these characters the way you want. And so I wanted to test it. And so I randomly chose to roleplay my Shepard as being racist towards Krogans. I'm like, this'll be funny. Rex, I love you, man, but in this game, my Shepard's just going to treat you like crap the entire time.
And you had made that decision before all the genophage stuff?
Yes. I made it from like the second I saw Rex's dumb face. I was like, I am going to pretend that I hate you. And it turns out it's the worst character to do that with.
Because he's awesome.
Because he's awesome. But
or
then
it's the best to do it with.
But then when you're on that tropical planet, I forget the name of, and you get into the big debate about the genophage.
Yeah.
Ashley is like, no problem. Just shoots him right in the back of the head.
Oh, yeah.
And
But you couldn't intervene. Oh, it was because you were just taking it to the furthest
Yes,
extent.
there's no way out. There's no way out. And so then it was this slow burn of just hating Ashley. And
because she represented what you hated in yourself.
Exactly. But then I saved Caden during that choice because I'm like, I'm keeping Ashley alive because I'm going to make her life a living hell. And then I was just mean to her. Mass Effect 1.
You could have just sent her literally to a living hell.
I know, but I wanted to make it living, not a dying hell. Mass Effect 2, the little bit I saw her, I was just like, F you. You know what you did. I completely turned around to my Krogan genophage thing. And then Mass Effect 3 finally got the vengeance of gunning Ashley down. And then it turns out that it was satisfying as I pulled that trigger. And then I felt really bad and wanted to apologize to Ashley. They're like, I love
it. It turns out revenge never works out.
No.
I could wish I could bring her back.
That's a great one. I like that one.
For me, it was also a Mass Effect death.
Of course.
I forget. I think it was Miranda, actually. Like I didn't do her loyalty mission, and
it sucks. Yeah,
she just died completely, like totally dead. So dead, it was ridiculous.
On the final,
the suicide mission.
Yeah, what took her out?
What was it?
She get carried away.
I think she got hit in the face with a
put
rocket.
her in the vents.
Okay.
Why did you care about her that much then?
I don't know. Like I don't know.
Fair enough.
I was going to
describe a lot of people's. You described a lot of people's feelings towards Miranda.
And then also in Heavy Rain, I sucked at one of the sequences, and the FBI guy fell to his death into like a combine or something.
And he screams, "You
or
suck!"
a trash compactor.
Get the Origami killer for me.
I hated the way he said it. But yeah, those are my two. I
still haven't played Heavy Rain.
You should.
I'm looking forward to that PS4 remaster.
Oh, that'd be
blaze through it on like a Sunday.
Oh, that's what you always say. You always bring up Sunday specifically with Heavy Rain. Clearly, you played it on a Sunday.
May have played all of Heavy Rain one Sunday.
I've heard it up like 4 times. You're always like, dude, sit down on a Sunday, play Heavy Rain.
Hey, bud, you like Sundays? You're going to like this game.
Eat a Sunday while you play it during a Sunday.
No, I'm not suggesting ice cream now. This isn't the time for that. It's time for you to talk about a video game character that died on your watch
Bloody
and you regret.
Sunday.
Or you can get the hell out.
It was a very bloody Sunday. It was I actually really liked your. I probably would have, if I had thought of Rex, I probably would have gone with it because that's like the one time I like reloaded a save in Mass Effect.
Ooh,
and I like feel bad. I feel bad about it now, actually, but whatever. What do you do?
Reload your save.
But
apparently
I could have reloaded my save again and just forcefully killed him. But actually, the one that I'm thinking about that I felt guilty about, and it's weird that I feel guilty about, is the companion cube from Portal. where I'm like,
You old
this is
internet
You are
geek.
the internet.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, whatever. But I played it before the
You know
internet.
that's actually intentional. They want you to feel
and
bad.
you can't escape that, and they wanted you to feel bad. And oddly enough, I did. Turns out.
those monsters.
I feel bad
monster.
anytime I like kill a dog or something.
What, like in like GTA when you can shoot the cat, or can't you kill the cat?
No,
in
I don't feel
GTA?
bad for killing cats.
Oh, just the dogs.
Yeah.
Well,
Cats don't make them feel it.
Cats got
Anytime
8
you
more
have to take a
tries.
dog and put it in a microwave and microwave it, I just feel bad.
All right, moving on to this one is from Drew from Minneapolis. Hello, guys and girls. Love listening to the podcast, and I check it out every week. My question for you is, how do you like to sit while playing video games?
What?
For me, I always
what a Tim Turry-ass question.
I don't know. For me, I always have to move the coffee table out of the way to put couch cushions up against the couch and sit on the floor. I think I do this because it's what my friends and I would do sitting in the basement as kids playing NES. Thanks for reading my email, Drew. I just sit on the couch. It's
A little
not,
presumptuous.
I normally lie down on the couch, but then when I want to take things very seriously, I sit up in my lazy boy, and it's always a better position. But there's something that seems too formal and kind of like too much effort to get up and sit in that lazy boy. So saying sprawled out on the couch is normally my default.
I cannot play laying down.
It's weird to me too.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're playing like a Game Boy or something.
Yeah, like
To
if I'm
lay
playing like on my 3DS or something, I've fallen asleep so many times playing like Pokemon on my 3DS, and I've like hit myself in the face.
It's
I'll
great.
be laying like
It's
that.
a great feeling. It's super effective.
Yeah.
I used to love to like sit up on the edge of the couch, like when I was in high school. Yeah, no, the edge of the edge of the TV,
Look
like
down
a cat, just curl
over
up on
between
it.
your legs.
Oh, how's this going? But the edge and like my legs would begin to burn because you're like, you know what I mean, when they're like cramped.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I'm like sitting forward on the couch.
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to be closer to the TV and like give myself bad eyesight.
Yeah, I think that
But
like,
now I actually lay back with my feet up,
I
Cool
do the
guy.
layback
like
move.
a cool guy.
And when it gets a little bit more intense, I'll lean forward. And then when it gets super intense, I will stand up and stand in the middle of my living room and play.
And then you start yelling at the TV.
I grew up like right in front of a computer monitor playing games, or in my bedroom growing up. I had a TV at an early age and like in a couch, and it was a small bedroom, so I got used to playing within like 5 feet. The couch would be like 5 feet from the TV, and every place I've lived since then, I've just tried to make it so that even if I have more space, that where I'm playing is just super close to the TV. And I have like, it's not a tremendous TV, but it's like 47 inches. I just can't deal with being too far back and like squinting at text or feeling like I'm at some disadvantage. I want to take up almost as much as my peripheral as I can comfortably do.
The absolute best was when I was in high school. I found a hospital bed in the newspaper for sale. And so I got like this old freaky hospital bed from like the 1920s with like big cranks on it. What? And so that was like my gaming seat. And so I could like readjust it and I had it propped in front of the TV.
What a Ben Hansen thing to do.
Are you joking with us?
No, it was an old freaky hospital bed and you could like position it exactly how
Was it
you'd want
comfortable?
it. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean,
Pretty good.
yeah, it made you want to be bedridden for the rest of your life for sure.
Did the
your-
doctors also make you wear that jacket with your arms tied behind you?
Oh yeah, I didn't
Straight
explain
jacket.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Well, now we know that. This next one comes from Taylor from Lansing, Michigan. Hey everyone, so lately I've been noticing a lot of developers talk about how, and we can relate to this from cover story trips and
You
talking to
bet.
developers, noticing a lot of developers talk about how they don't have that much time to play other people's games anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And point to their influences outside of the industry, like Neil Druckmann talking about how becoming a father influenced The Last of Us, or Kojima with Metal Gear Solid coming from John Carpenter, Michael Bay, talking about like inspiration from, I'm paraphrasing here,
Yeah.
adding some stuff in here where it's like Escape from New York or The Rock or
Right.
stuff like that. To Phantom Pain referencing books like Lord of the Flies and Moby Dick. How do you think this will change the games we play? Writers and filmmakers sometimes work into their 80s, but we haven't really seen that with games. What's up with that? And could
What's up with that?
And could we get a life-changing masterpiece of art from a 75-year-old Ken Levine? Thanks, love the show, Taylor. I think there's two questions there, and the first one is like I think that commonly what you hear is that like you shouldn't, if you want to make something really interesting in a medium, that you shouldn't always necessarily just look to other things in that medium. You should look outside of it because you're going to get an idea and make connections that people wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
I think there's a good example. One thing I was listening listening to an awesome podcast called Lore recently, which reminded me that
Called lore?
lore. It just goes into like, hey, this is the genesis of a werewolf or a vampire, or this is where shapeshifters or the elves of Iceland came from. Or
sounds good.
something. It's really
It's a cool
interesting.
podcast. I've listened to a couple.
You have?
Yeah.
I absolutely recommend it. But one reminded me of they're going into the Colorado Rockies hotel that inspired The Shining, and how like Stephen King stayed in that hotel and like had a bad dream about a fire hose chasing his little boy, which is actually a scene from the Shining book. I'm pretty sure.
Wait, and it moves like a snake?
Yeah. But anyway, that's an example of just like Stephen King doesn't get. I'm sure he read plenty of horror, and he read a lot of pulp kind of horror books growing up. But like that was just him getting inspired by a creepy atmosphere and the history of this hotel. And if he was just reading other contemporary horror writers at the time, things might just kind of feel sort of redundant. So I think I think there's other examples within the game industry specifically that I'm not coming up with right away, but I think it's cool to.
So you're telling game designers to get outside?
Hell yeah, man.
Go stay in that hotel in Colorado.
Yeah. Make that Shining game we want. You guys have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, I guess, because we're just talking earlier about, at least I was, about how cool it is, the kind of Metal Gear Solid reference in Arkham Knight for like the game over screen. Where like I love when video games reference themselves,
Sure.
Or even like Gone Home. We talked about with Steve Gaynor having Street Fighter 2 in it. Like I love that kind of when the pop culture of video games gets wrapped up inside of a video game itself. I think it's really fun.
It can get too much, like Guacamelee comes to mind.
Oh,
It was just
exactly.
a little bit too much of that stuff in there.
Right, right.
It's a weird balance to make, and then the follow-up question being like, are we going to get some older developers in there? The weird thing is like, there's more and more developers that get out of the industry, like because burnout rates are super high.
We got a lot of burnouts in the industry.
Right, man. So I'm hoping that we see some seasons.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of too early to tell.
It is.
I mean, we have an industry just leaving its infancy, really. So, I mean, we haven't really had the chance to see too many people reach that age in the industry. But also, I mean, software development is a very, very stressful, very, very time-consuming industry. Like, in order to make a game, I would say it's going to be a longer commitment and more hours than making a movie would be.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it's a young man's industry even. 'Cause you see a lot of that.
Yeah,
Like
I
esports.
certainly think it is. I'm trying to think of like
the older
the
people
oldest,
get, the more they leave.
the oldest, most successful creative director that's releasing stuff now.
Miyamoto's been around a long time, but he's
Yeah.
almost not a creative director in the
he's-
sense
he's kind of
anymore. He's
producing
an
and directing,
Yeah,
really.
executive
Yeah.
producer kind of thing.
If you're the oldest creative director in the industry, send us an email at
Give us a call.
podcast.
Right.
Well, it'd be somebody who worked on Atari games like David Crane or somebody. I know he's
Yeah.
still making games, but they're not like super popular.
But also,
like because the industry has changed so
Yeah.
much. So it might have to wait a little bit longer before somebody gets to be old enough
Yeah,
that's
like-
still making games.
Could we see Ken Levine like in his 80s making
Yeah, I don't
games?
know.
Because I mean, I would say that the skills
want
for
to?
System Shock and Bioshock are going to be more transferable, 30 years, 40 years down the road than making an Atari game. Skills were transferable to today.
Right.
I think of like our first interview on the Rebooted podcast with like Warren Spector, with like him debating about whether or not to make another game and get back in the industry, where it's like, man, it just takes a lot out of you. And like, I don't blame people for kind of sitting it out at a certain point.
So Taylor had one. I don't think we'll have time for it. He's just asking about like Phantom Pain theories and predictions.
Oh,
and
boy.
stuff. But we don't have that long before we're actually just talking about the game. But
Right.
Thank you,
I
Taylor.
think there'll still be theories once the game comes out.
True. It is a Metal Gear game. And then the last question here. This is Andrew writing in from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Wondered what the crew thought the most successful game studio acquisitions have been throughout the ages, i.e. Sony acquiring Naughty Dog, EA acquiring BioWare. Rare Replay Collection is excellent and got me thinking maybe this is one acquisition that didn't go as planned, but there are those who paid off in spades. Thanks for all the great work. Love the new format.
That's very sweet.
Andrew.
It's a good question. I think one that it's still way too early to say, but I've been so impressed with them right out of the gate, even though it's only been like a year, is the Minecraft Mojang
Right.
purchase, where it's like
Seems seamless, doesn't it?
it's how generous they are, Microsoft, in theory, at least so far, with still allowing all those other versions of the game for the game to be sold on PlayStation and iOS. Not only that, but then also still allowing the licensing deal with Telltale to go through for them to make an adventure game based on this Minecraft property going on every system known to man.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no crazy cash grabs yet. It's just they bought into that giant mindset in every child's love these days.
Right.
So, if that's all they were going for was just being in charge theoretically of that brand that is going to grow up with a whole generation, then good on them so far.
I have to imagine future versions of Minecraft, like if they do a Minecraft 2, that probably won't be.
That's the question. I mean, they made the
right?
Windows 10 version of Minecraft, but they are making so much money just off the iOS version alone. Like, I don't know if they'd have the gumption to do it.
I think that's a good answer. I was actually going to mention Bungie and Microsoft because I thought that was a pretty good, even though like
Even though it didn't end great.
yeah. Well, they left obviously, so they didn't
Yeah.
like it, but it was a really good deal for Microsoft. I mean,
Did you see
and in
the-
terms of like not ruining a company? Because I feel
Right.
like that's the question is right. It's like a lot of times you hear about these acquisitions and then it just sort of like ruins the company, or they stop making the good games and then they get, they close down. Like that's usually the story, and that didn't happen with Bungie. So
Did you see, by the way, at the studio on the second floor, they had the Declaration of Independence.
yeah, I
Like
did see that,
framed on the
actually.
wall. Yeah, it's Declaration of Independence for Microsoft is really cool. And like all the
cool.
founders like signed it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, with quills.
I think that EA's
I signed
acquisition
it too.
of BioWare
Okay.
was
Sure.
was a good one. I mean, because originally the first Mass Effect was published by Microsoft.
Yeah, that was a weird deal.
Yeah, and then Mass Effect 1 didn't come out in PlayStation for when Mass Effect 2 came out, maybe.
I think it was after that even. Yeah.
And then I think that Deep Silver was a big winner with getting Volition from THQ, and THQ
Well, they haven't
went
done
under.
much yet.
I'm
so-
so
They did
curious to
Saints Row
see.
4.
Yeah, I'm curious what they do after
Yeah.
Get Out of Hell. I don't know.
I feel like
man.
that was probably in the works.
I pray to
by the
God they're
time.
not making another Saints Row.
It'd be nice. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to do something different, right?
Yeah,
they have
for
to go
sure.
back to the creative well if they're
Yeah.
going to do a new one.
I have another one in mind. One that people don't really talk about, but it was huge back in 2008, 2009 when it happened. But the Activision Blizzard
That was
merger.
mine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Take it away
I was
then,
just-
Tim.
I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing about that one is that both of those companies were doing really quality stuff around that time. I mean, you could argue that Activision was dealing with franchise fatigue, whether it was like Guitar Hero or Call of Duty of the time. But Blizzard's always made really quality stuff. If you look at where those two companies are now, even though they're kind of the same, they're both like, I don't know, in some ways, like really at the top of their game in some ways. Call of Duty still, I think it's more impressive than it has been for a long time.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero looks really promising. The Spyro, the Skylanders stuff is still doing really well. And then you shift over to Blizzard, who is just like in a heyday. Like between Heroes of the Storm, like continuing to support World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, the way they turned that around.
How many copies they sold of that?
Yes,
Hearthstone being
StarCraft.
such a cheap project, just
oh my
great.
gosh,
Yes,
you
like
cash
they're
blew
doing
up.
amazing. And like I don't know the business details behind it. I don't know how Blizzard would have done without this other path, like, partnering with Activision. But the fact that both companies are able to continue safely and confidently and successfully doing what they do in a climate, especially for third-party publishers, that's really kind of, I don't know, it's a risky environment for developing games, and they both seem like they are very, very capable of creating awesome stuff.
They seem completely separate. That's what's crazy about
Yes.
it. The
They
whole
seem
thing,
like super different companies.
You don't have to call Blizzard/Activision.
No.
It just seems imperceptible based on Blizzard's history of release schedules and continuing history of release schedules. Like, there's just no influence that's perceptible. Maybe
Right.
it's always easy to take every bad decision Blizzard makes and be like, oh, that was clearly Activision. Like
Yeah.
the Diablo auction house. Oh, that was that evil Hirschberg up in his tower made of money. But it's like, probably not.
I'm not even sure it was though.
No, of course
Right,
not. Like
right.
Blizzard just thought it was an interesting experiment and threw it
Yeah.
out there.
But the
Right.
way they went back and changed it, like that was all Blizzard.
Yeah, and just the idea of even just revamping Diablo 3 as much as they did, it's like the Final Fantasy 14 route of let's just reboot this entire thing, and it completely paid off.
Make it into a better game.
Yeah, and for a publisher like Activision, who's known for just annualizing series, like the fact that's under the same umbrella is just crazy.
Oh, it is super weird. It's like the opposite. Complete opposites. It's like the odd couple living in the same
I was going to say
video game company.
Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, you could maybe talk about that, or just IDOS in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been doing all right with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
that's
Maybe it's better to stay independent though. Something to be said for that.
but
Mike Birbiglia is doing pretty good with his volume game.
big deal, yeah. Comedian. So these awesome questions this week, awesome emails. So keep those coming. Taylor from Lansing, Michigan, with the question about just sort of. I really like the question about like just developers drawing inspiration from other things and still making awesome games, even though they're not playing everything that comes out. It's awesome. I like that question, so we'll send you a little thank you. And everyone else that's listening, if you have a question or kind of a hypothetical you want to pose, whatever. A comment, a interesting story, send it to podcast@gameinformer.com, and hopefully we'll get around to it. And we still have to kind of mine through the iTunes ratings because we asked people for the last couple of weeks to go.
It's almost like we keep forgetting to go to
We need to
those
get to it because most of the ratings for the iTunes version of the show are based off of Matt Helgeson's Storied Reign, sort of hosting the podcast. And since we kind of revamped things, we were hoping to get people motivated to give us some reviews and let us know what they think so that we can kind of update those iTunes reviews. So
Update and re-energize.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, stay tuned for the next segment where we get to some fun game trivia. We've done it once on the Rebooted Show before.
I think so.
Okay, back of the box trivia.
Can't wait.
We'll explain the rules when we come back after this.
Awesome.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. All right, we're playing Back of the Box Trivia. The way this works, everybody, if you've never heard it before, I went into our game vault, which has almost every video game ever made, with my phone, which I'm holding now. You can see my fancy case if you're looking at the video version on YouTube. And I took a picture of the back of these game boxes, and now I'm going to read the back of the boxes, kind of the highlighted areas, omitting keywords.
Character names, titles.
Things that'll completely give it away.
If it said the word Hyrule, we'd probably get that out of there.
All right, I will not start on that one then. And so you buzz in by saying your name. You get one chance. And if everybody else buzzes in, then you can wait for me to read the entire thing. But the only condition is that you have to lean back and say, I could get used to this. Put your hands behind your head.
Like what you said, like if everyone buzzes in, you can take your time and guess. It's if everyone buzzes in and blows it.
Correct.
You know,
Do you get
because-
a second chance?
Nope.
Because Ben is going to keep reading it, and it takes skill to like guess it as fast as possible because you don't want him to read so much that other people guess it.
But it has to be like
But you don't want to be too hasty because
the right game. If it's like the sequel or something, you don't get it.
Correct. So
Right.
buzz in with your name. First to 5 wins. I'll keep
First to
score.
5.
Oh, jeez.
We good to go here?
Could take a while.
yep.
Ryan Shea, you ready?
Please try to play along at home. See how you do.
In the end, there will be only chaos. Become the fearless warrior blank as he rises from the depths of blank to the heights of blank. Tim.
God of War 2.
Incorrect. Seeking revenge against those who betrayed him. Armed with his deadly chained blades.
Oh,
Brian, God of War.
Incorrect.
Ugh.
Blank will take on mythology's darkest creatures to destroy blank and the mighty blank himself.
Yeah, Ben just gets to sit back and listen.
Reeves, hang on. You got to say,
I could get used to that.
what's your guess?
Well, the
Dummy?
problem is there's not like one game left. There's like
Well, what do you
offshoots.
think? What do you think?
God of War 3.
Correct. God of War 3.
Knew it.
What? Specifically
Yeah.
the PS4 version in honor of
That's what I was
something we
gonna
talked
say.
about a little while ago. Here we go. Inspiring worlds, beloved characters, unforgettable fun. The biggest blank collection ever.
Buzz.
Tim.
I mean Buzz Aldrin.
Disney Infinity.
Incorrect.
Damn it.
Buzz?
Wait.
You can't just say a word. Iconic characters and games you love.
Oh.
Brand new challenges to test your skills.
Brian,
Brian.
NES Remix.
Incorrect. Relive your favorite gaming moments.
Also, got to
I
think
could
that
get
it's got to be
used to
something. It's got to be something we probably have a box of.
Well, they had a retail release of NES
Oh.
Remix.
They did.
Oh,
Are you able to reread it again?
Not on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Inspiring worlds, beloved characters, unforgettable fun. The biggest blank collection ever. Iconic characters and games you love. Brand new challenges to test your skills. Relive your favorite gaming moments.
Oh, man, I don't know.
5, 4.
Disney Infinity
3.
2.
No.
It's not a
Is
thing.
it Rare Replay?
It is Rare Replay.
that was my second guess.
Oh, good
Sorry.
one.
No
That's
points
a
for
good one.
anybody.
That's a good one.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Oh, good one.
Defeat our
Yeah.
enemies.
I'm conquer everybody.
Explore new worlds. Blank is a next generation first person shooter with rich cinematic storytelling set in huge worlds to explore. Create and customize your blank. Defeat your enemies. Become legend in intense. Tim.
Destiny.
There we go, Tim.
Become legend.
I was trying to
legend.
avoid that dumb become legend thing. Here we go. Blank and his daughter Blank are driving to their favorite vacation spot. Late that night, a figure suddenly appears from out of the darkness.
Tim.
Silent
Hill.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Jeez.
good.
Tim, Silent Hill
done.
1.
Oh, Harry Mason.
Yep. And a daughter Cheryl. Rip up the rules book. Anything goes.
Tim.
Tim.
NFL Blitz.
He's just getting cocky. Incorrect.
Oh,
Incorrect.
I was getting cocky. I'm like, I'm hot.
I'm infallible. I'm the king.
He's on fire.
I can't blow it.
King of all media. Smash monster drives.
Well, I still
Earn
believe.
power-ups at the driving range gone mad.
No.
Brian. Hot Shots Golf.
Incorrect. Play wacky courses. Play as one of your favorite tigers.
Tigers?
What?
Tons of golfers. Create your own golfer to take on Blank and the many other characters. Well, we're going to need to hear it, Reeves.
Tiger Woods PGA Tour
That's not what I needed to hear.
2011.
Is he wrong? He didn't say his name though, so does he get to like guess again?
He's incorrect, but I was waiting to hear the catchphrase for being the last
Oh,
player.
I get used to this. I wasn't gonna like hammer it home too
Incorrect.
Too much.
Correct answer is Cyber Tiger, everybody.
Cyber Tiger?
all right.
Cyber
What?
Tiger
And it's
on
a
the
golf game?
64. Yep.
Is it about Tiger Woods?
Of course, that game.
All right. This is a
Is
quote.
it Tiger Woods or is it like a real life tiger?
It's Tiger Woods. It's actually a fusion of the two. It's after Tiger Woods made love to a tiger accidentally.
It's like a
Accidentally.
cybernetic Tiger
I don't
Woods.
think any of us have actually heard of this game.
yeah,
Cyber
I've never
Tiger?
heard of this.
Oh, you Neanderthals.
This
It's a
sounds like
classic.
This sounds like a Ben Hansen
No,
game.
Yeah.
people have heard of Cyber
It's very
Tiger.
Ben Hansen-y.
Write in if you
Cyber
love Cyber Tiger.
Or don't if you also haven't heard of it.
Or write in if you've cybered with Tiger.
Oh.
Anyways, this is a quote from a magazine. It's a platforming masterpiece for the ages.
Is it our magazine?
Fly rockets, ride whirlwinds, and surf lava flows at a blazing 60 frames per second. Master Blank's amazing moves.
Tim.
Tim.
Knack?
Incorrect. Interesting guess. For the ages. No, amazing moves and battle vicious enemies across 54 massive levels in 21 lush worlds to save the universe from destruction. Exclusive Sega Dreamcast features. All new bonus levels. Internet downloads.
Oh, Brian.
Choo Choo Rocket. Incorrect. Multiplayer minigame.
Platformer? What are you talking about?
I kind of blanked out in the middle there.
Yeah,
all right.
during most of it.
Yeah.
All right, Reeves. That's it, man. What did,
I could get used to this.
all right.
No, it works every time.
Good
for Hansen, yeah.
consistency.
Old sheepish Reeves. What do you got?
What? Are you able to read it again?
Platforming masterpiece for the ages. Fly rockets, ride whirlwind, 60 frames a second. Exclusive Sega Dreamcast features. All new bonus levels, internet downloads, multiplayer minigames. Master this character's amazing moves and battle vicious enemies.
I think it's a Sega Dreamcast game.
5.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Incorrect. Rayman 2.
Oh wow.
I never would have gotten
Rayman
that.
2.
I wouldn't,
It was a port.
It was the platformer for the ages, you guys.
It was a
I went off
PlayStation game that was
Purely
ported.
the internet thing.
Yeah, like, anytime you have to point out the frame rate, especially that era, it's just like
It's weird.
You're reaching.
Yeah, certainly. Escape to paradise. Take a trip to a tropical. Take a trip to
Tim.
Ben.
Tim.
Mario Sunshine.
Incorrect.
Damn it.
Ben.
Well, go on.
That's not how that
I don't think
works.
that's how that works at all.
Dead Island.
Nope.
Ooh, a good guess.
Ryan Shea.
Well, I didn't buzz
Hang
in.
on. I know we need you to do that.
I could get used to this.
Take a trip to a tropical resort with new blank and new ways to play. Now even more precise with blank. With 12 wildly fun blanks to choose from, everyone will be reaching for a controller.
12 blanks to play.
5.
Dead Island Riptide.
It's Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah.
Wii Sports Resort.
Resort. Yeah.
Dead Island Riptide. Or Wii Sports Resort. Who can choose? All right, Tim's at 2, Reeves is at 1, Shay is at
Close game.
-8.
You gonna run out?
Hell no, we won't go. Tense dungeon crawling, fearsome enemy encounters, and groundbreaking online features. Incredible challenge provides an absolute foundation of achievement and reward.
Wow.
That's what we got, everybody.
Brian.
Is that the whole thing?
Diablo 3.
Incorrect. Tense dungeon crawling, fearsome enemy encounters, and groundbreaking online features. Incredible challenge provides an absolute foundation of achievement and reward. What the hell? Gotta say, it's simplistic, but it's an effective bullet point thing here.
Man, I'm having a hard time with this one.
5.
Bloodborne.
Incorrect. 4, 3, 2.
Blank.
Yeah, it's Blank's Adventure.
Oh.
Incorrect. The answer is Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1. All right,
Yeah,
here we go. Deep beneath the blank has awakened. A mighty demon horde pours into blank, devouring the souls of men. Called upon by a maiden in black, you go forth to lift the curse. Unrestricted choice. Design your character, starting from class and weaponry all the way down to facial features. Then decide whether to progress with the story or chart your own path through the open world. Ever-changing world. Watch the world around you shift according to the actions of... Brian.
Dragon Age Origins?
Incorrect. According to the actions of you and your fellow players on the PlayStation Network. Defeat enemies, items, and events. Different enemies, items, and events may trigger, leading to very different consequences. Tim.
Dragon's Dogma?
Incorrect. Revolutionary online play. Leave hints, view the deaths of past players, work cooperatively, or invade another's game.
God damn it.
Reeves, we're going to need to hear it.
I could get used to this.
5, 4, 3.
Dark Souls 2.
Incorrect.
What?
Demon Souls, ladies and gentlemen. Demon Souls.
You're being a
with
wily
that.
trickster.
I thought that would have been too soon after Dark Souls.
Yeah,
I was thinking Demon Souls originally.
Overthought it.
Wage war as you choose. As Alex D., a covert anti-terrorist operative, you are thrust into a hornet's nest of conflict, conspiracy, and deceit. When a terrorist attack occurs in Chicago, you must decide whether your choice of allegiance is the right one. Use biomods to customize and upgrade your character. Experience intense shooter and stealth gameplay in a world of unparalleled interactivity. With multiple solutions to every problem, each game experience is unique. Utilize high-tech gadgetry and modifiable weaponry in stealth and combat scenarios, you guys. Tim.
Psyops?
Incorrect. That's all we got. A brilliant game.
Oh, it's
And
brilliant.
Stuff Magazine says 5 stars. State-of-the-art gaming. Wage
Might have
war
been good.
as you choose. Biomods.
Wait.
Experience intense shooter and stealth
The
gameplay.
stealth is throwing
Ben?
me.
Ben.
Deus Ex?
Incorrect.
I could get used to this, but I'm still wrong. Prototype.
Incorrect.
Was it a
Deus Ex 2 Invisible War,
Oh, what?
everybody.
Come on.
Deus Ex 2 Invisible War.
I should get a half point.
Nope.
tough one? They don't mention like a future.
I was like, why would Stuff Magazine give the second one to 5 stars? That
Of course, I know you're a big Stuff Magazine fan.
Yeah.
Because it was out of 10.
I always stuff.
Here we go. World enslavement. Universal domination. Mom's work is never done. Mom has taken over blank from blank, making her the supreme ruler of Earth. The blank crew must stop Mom's BattleBot army. Brian.
Futurama.
Futurama. Brian Shea on the PS2.
Gets on the board.
I like the
Nicely
way
done.
my cartoon knowledge came in handy rather than my gaming knowledge.
Perfect. Fight World War II for the first time. Tomorrow is D-Day.
Tim. Oh crap. Medal of Honored Allied Assault.
Incorrect. Tomorrow is
what I was gonna
D-Day.
guess.
Tonight you land behind enemy lines. The tide of the war is in your hands. You are an elite special forces agent sent to execute covert operations, search and rescue missions, and commando raids. Fight to win the blank in the only game that lets you take on Nazis in World War II. The only game.
Oh, Ben?
Ben.
You got to guess then.
I could get used. Oh wait,
I'm
right.
still in. I'm waiting for you.
Wolfenstein.
Not Wolfenstein, no. Features 11 authentic weapons, including the Tommy gun and bazooka, 7 missions, 24 3D levels, from inside a deadly U-boat to a secret V2 rocket plant, 20 enemy types, Wehrmacht light infantry, elite
right.
heavy shock troops, and more. Intense 2-player combat.
Brian, you got this.
Do I?
You got
Yeah,
it.
you got it.
Just think. Use your brain.
Call of Duty?
It's Medal of Honor.
Incorrect. Medal of Honor
Medal of
1,
Honor.
everybody. All right. Holy cow.
fast.
We're swinging and missing here.
No, these are tough.
I know they are. We're getting to challenge rounds. Go behind enemy lines
Again?
in 3D. Deployed behind enemy lines in the midst of global nuclear threat, blank lurks through a jungle world with one intent: take down the enemy at all costs. That's what we got, everybody.
Are you reading the same thing?
It's so vague.
Deployed behind enemy lines in the midst of global nuclear threat. Tim.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
There we go, Tim.
Oh, wow.
I was about to
Tim-
say, I'm thinking just war. You know what I mean? I'm thinking war.
Hey, man, I'm just thinking war straight up.
What are the scores?
Oh, Tim
3,
is
2,
at
1.
3, Reeves is at 1, Shay is at 1.
Can I get an extra point?
I could get used to this.
More than just fun and games. Don't look now, but blank's back.
Ooh.
And this time, he's in your world. But where is that mastermind of reptilian trouble
Tim.
doing his dastardly deeds? Tim.
Gex, Enter the Gecko.
Incorrect. And what has he done with blank? Welcome to blank. Take a trek with your travel agent, blank, and see the world. Track down troublesome turtles. Figure out where in the world you are and what on earth happened to blank. If your grasp of geography is good enough, you'll get the goods,
Damn it.
stomp the hoods, and grab blank out of blank's ghastly guest house. A learning adventure that the whole family can share.
Gex, come on.
There is no blank stomping mayhem. It's a fun way to learn about our world in the game. You get to explore exotic cities, steer through streets with a map and a compass.
Brian.
Yeah. Oh, Brian's here, everybody.
Mario is missing.
No.
Mario's missing. Nice work,
really?
Brian.
I
Shay.
for sure thought it was Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego.
No, nicely done, Brian. Shay.
Well done.
Mario is missing.
I was
Well
going to
done.
guess that. And
I've never played that game. That actually sounds really interesting. The idea of like melding our world with the Mario universe.
kind of terrible.
Of course it
Yeah,
is.
it's pretty bad.
New attitude, new enemies. Swing from vines. Launch new attacks. Survive deadly traps. And summon blank to airlift blank out of danger. Discover hidden rooms and passageways in the mega-sized zones.
Brian. Sonic 2006?
Incorrect. Transform into blank and experience the ultimate in speed and ultra blank power. Save your progress using
Yeah.
the new
I knew it. As soon as I missed it, I knew it.
Sonic 3.
Yeah, what are the odds that we talked about that?
I knew that was sounding a lot like Tails, but then you said Ultra, and is Ultrasonic in Hypersonic is in Sonic?
It says ultrasonic, so it says transform into supersonic and experience the ultimate in speed and ultrasonic power.
Oh, so it was ultrasonic power, not like
But
calling
there's
it
only
ultrasonic.
Supersonic and Hypersonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
weird.
knows that. I was going to say how weird it is that Sonic came up
He
in this
does.
podcast.
Yeah,
but
in Angel Island Zone, he swings from vines right
Here's
away.
the weird thing. I actually was looking at that box in our vault
I
last
saw you
week.
smelling it like a creeper.
I was thinking that was the one where he transformed into the werewolf. Which one was that?
That's Unleashed.
The vine should have gotten me.
Tim's at 4, Reeves is at 1, Shay's at 2.
Way behind now.
An epic adventure in a vast and mysterious world. Lead your friends on an amazing journey through an immense and visually stunning world. Empowered by shadow creatures, your party begins a bold adventure to reveal the truth about the evil Neen and save the world. Delve into this deep and rich expansive story set amidst a richly vivid world of action and intrigue. Experience dynamic new combat. Each character controls a massive shadow creature using an innovative turn-based battle system.
Ben? Persona 3?
Incorrect. 9 different classes for your shadow creature to master. Shadows level up and gain new abilities as they fight. It's also prominently displaying the names of creators on this back of the box. Which I will not list.
Start rolling into that again.
All right. Lead your friends on an amazing journey through an immense and visually stunning world empowered by shadow creatures. Your party begins a bold adventure to reveal the truth about the evil Neen and save the world. Experience dynamic new combat. Each character controls a massive shadow creature using an innovative turn-based battle system. You're not getting better than that clue right there.
Yeah, I believe it.
I'll give you a clue. It's not Okage Shadow King.
Oh, because
That's not what I was thinking.
All right.
Man.
5, 4.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
Incorrect.
Tim.
Tim.
Shin Megami Tensei. Demon.
Incorrect. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Blue Dragon, everybody. Blue Dragon.
I don't know.
So I wouldn't have.
Dragon.
I would
really?
have been just likely to guess.
The first 4D action game ever. Only on Xbox.
Oh, Ben. Blinks the Time Sweeper.
There we go. Ben Reeves. Nicely done. Reeves is up to 2.
Ooh.
America.
F yeah.
1911. The Wild West is dying.
Tim. Red Dead Redemption.
There we go. Tim with the victory.
I was waiting for another hint to see if it was Revolver.
Wahoo! No, if it was Revolver, it would go a little bit something like this.
Oh.
The open frontier of the West. Fast, rugged. That was going to be my twist, is eventually
really?
getting to Revolver.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Were there any like real interesting ones you wanted to get to?
Let's see. Let's see if we can get to some real stinkers.
Like follow-up bonus guess ones?
Follow-up
Your
bonus
favorite.
guess
Your favorite ones.
All right, this one just says the word hysteria in big letters. And then it has a character on the back of the box saying a quote, best game ever.
State of emergency.
Incorrect. Shoot arrows, tap beats, snap suspects, tons of wacky collectibles, Miiverse sketch. 16 gamepad games, endless fun.
Tim.
Tim.
It would be Game & Wario.
Correct.
Yeah.
Twice the bros, twice the insanity.
Tim.
Tim.
Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
There we go.
Jeez, good thing you didn't get to these.
A Nightmare from Below,
Tim
A
would've
Hero
won.
from Within.
Oh.
The planet lies in ruin, cities crumbling, man's greatest works following. Tim.
Gears of War.
Correct.
Wow.
Tim. Oh my
You just going
Lord.
in like to the vault. And
I've read
reading the
every
back
game
books.
box.
You just created a PDF and like when
I did, like Miller and
yeah,
his
like Miller and read it in front of
his
a
grimoire cards.
Yeah.
toilet.
Viva la Vengeance. Get revenge. Tim.
It'd be Medal of Honor Underground.
Again, he gets cocky, everybody.
What is happening?
It's incorrect. No.
Oh, wow.
Of course not. Get revenge. Unleash
not.
a huge arsenal of vehicles, weapons, and explosives to destroy the Nazi war machine.
Oh, it's even better than
Inspire the resistance. Change the city of Paris with your acts of defiance.
Tim Saboteur.
Oh, well,
Tim?
you can't guess.
Tim the
sorry.
Saboteur.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
All right,
But
last one
Medal
here.
of Honor Underground is about partnering up with the French resistance.
And we're going to cut his mic. All right, here we go. Last one
Partners in
here.
Time.
Life and death at the end of the universe. Blank transports you to the farthest reaches of the solar system. Playing as the reluctant hero, Leo Stenbuck, you'll command a giant mechanized robot into high-speed aerial combat against a heavily armed rogue Tim.
That would be Zone of the Enders.
Correctamundo.
I was like, I couldn't remember the name of the game. I was
There
like,
we
"What's
go.
that?"
Tim, hell of a round, man.
Oh, well, thank you.
Good job.
You guys, good competition.
bonus round.
You guys had like the Mario was missing. That was
That was
tremendous.
the best get.
I
in the
surprised
whole
myself
thing.
with that.
Yeah.
We're all very proud of you.
Good job, Brian.
All right.
I want to know how people did at home. How are Ben's choices? I feel like you did a really good job, like just cryptic enough, but then you'd say the title and it's like, oh, okay, Blue Dragon.
Yeah, at the end when you said the title, I thought that you were giving it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much for playing along.
That was fun.
Thank you for being on the podcast, everybody. Thank you for listening or
Yeah.
watching if you're watching the YouTube version. Stay tuned next week. We're going to get back to some new and exciting games, huh? Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.